welcome to The Raid, the GamerAccess.com's MOBA, MMO, PC gaming podcast. I'm your host, the level 90 Protection Warrior, Bronson Fiore, joined by...
Your level 50 Ellison Paladin, Anthony Ta.
How you doing, Anthony? How you feeling?
Feeling, busier. Yeah, things have been busier. But I'm coping, and coping reasonably well, actually.
So I have recently chopped through my backlog of games. All that I have left is Final Fantasy X. Which means within the next week or so, specifically when I get paid tomorrow, I'm going to be starting World of Warcraft again. Which is perfect timing because holy crap, a whole bunch of news has come out regarding World of Warcraft and Blizzard games and Blizzard stuff.
I need to check the last time we did the raid because I think Final Fantasy XIV might have patch 2.2 come out in between raids right now.
I think it might have. I'm going to pull the page up while we're doing this.
I'm already checking on that, so you can just go ahead and start the news.
Oh yeah, it was when Quentin was here. This is why you're fat. Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, yeah. Patch 2.2 happened, alright.
Alright, so I guess I'll start with the World of Warcraft stuff. They've shown off some more character models for the new expansion. They've shown off the Draenei. They've shown off the running of the Bulls Tauren. They've shown off and the alpha for Warlords of Draenor has started. The in-house alpha, not the open alpha. Which means if trend continues, by the end of spring, we'll be in beta, and the full game will be out by the end of October or September.
That sounds like just in time for BlizzCon.
Which means it'll probably be just in time for BlizzCon and the 20th anniversary. Yeehaw. Anthony, I'm saying we should go down to Anaheim.
Well, we need to somehow get in first. Like, those tickets disappear pretty darn fast.
Let's whore our press credentials. No, I'm kidding.
Nah, I don't think they'll do that, though, because if it's a Blizzard-only event, they already got news covered. They are the news.
Yeah, I really enjoy hearing stories about, like it's really shitty, but I really enjoy hearing Jeff's old stories about how, like, he faked press credentials to get into CES. That was pretty funny. Yeah. These events are a lot more cautious about that shit now, but like in the 90s, man, you could totally fake that shit. Also, another fun fact is Square Enix would not send them games because they were a website, and they thought that would like lead to piracy because they were a website.
But they are a games review website.
Yeah, dude, the late 90s were weird.
The 90s in general were pretty weird.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Blizzard news. So the alpha started. The new models are out. They look great. And in that time, they have started their level 90. Like you pre-order. So you pre-order Warlords of Draenor right now. Like you go do it. I am waiting for them to announce the physical collector's edition instead of just the digital one, or else I probably would have done it. So you can pre-order Warlords of Draenor right now. Like, just go log into your account. Even in fact, when you go log into your World of Warcraft account, it's straight up is like, oh, here's all this crap. So you know how one of the things with Warlords of Draenor is you get a level 9 a character boosted to 90?
Yeah.
Well, you get it now. You don't have to wait till the expansion. You get it now. So right now.
Ooh, so I can bring my inexperienced tank up to 90 today.
Yes, and this has created some problems. Now, in Warlords of Draenor, it's not a problem because that's not the cap. So you have, 10 levels of stupidity buffer. But currently, it is the cap. So, like, people who haven't played since Wrath or Kata or Burning Crusade.
Or you have people like me who hasn't played the game in over a year. Like maybe 2 years?
No, it's been about a year
A
because
year and a half. Okay,
about
because
a
I
year and a
remember
half.
I remember I played in about October, November, hit 90, and then just stopped. Then I came back for a month and then stopped again. But yeah, like, would let me ask this. Look, I played Warcraft quite a bit, and I was a pretty decent DPS back in Cataclysm days, and I ran a tank. But mind you, I have no experience as a high-end tank, if that's one way to put it. Would you trust me to tank your heroic dungeon?
I would trust you in heroics. I wouldn't trust you in LFR.
Um, yeah. See, so I'm guessing the problem here is that a lot of people are pushing themselves too far,
Well, yeah, like
and
so.
it's causing a gigantic fire
Okay, so this
to
is what's
happen.
happening. This is what's happening. They get their new 90, which okay, fine. And then they go to Ketchup Island, uh, the Timeless Isle. For those of you who
Catch up
haven't,
island. We'll just call it catch up, not catch up.
yeah,
Catch. I'm
yeah,
sorry. It's ketchup island.
catch up. Yeah, you. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to create a really lousy joke right there.
English is weird.
Hey
Anyway,
Bronson, here's another funny English thing. You know how you when you say someone is in awe, right? They're amazed,
yes.
they're in awe, and then when you say something is awesome, some awe, right? Or something weirdly like that. But
Yeah,
when you say something is awful, that's bad.
yeah.
English.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So back to Catch Up Island.
Anyway, they'll go to Ketchup Island, and then they'll fill the rest in with the earlier LFRs, which are so baby stupid easy mode now that they practically just give you gear, and then they'll go into Siege of Orgrimmar, and they're terrible. Like they're fucking awful, and they're not willing to learn.
Okay, so let me make sure this is right. These are like people that are just coming back to Warcraft, right? This isn't just like some experienced player that just ran a different type of class. This is like
So
people like me who just randomly
well,
just jumped into Siege of Orgrimmar with not
the
really knowing what I'm doing.
Well, there's everything. There's the people who just that this is like their first experience with Warcraft because they can ding up to where their friends are, or there's some people like you, which people like you are actually fine because they follow directions and like understand what's going on after two or three
Understand how an
tries.
MMO works?
Yeah, and like people like Quinn who haven't played and or like people like I would say if they've ever played Warcraft, they're fine. Some of the harder mechanics they've been figuring out, like if they quit during Burning Crusade and came back and they're like, oh wow, okay, I kind of need to relearn some stuff. That's fine. But man, whew, some of these people who have never played it or never done the raid thing because they played during Burning Crusade when being like raiding was just this weird like just it was harder to get into. So like, oh, now we get to raid, and they just are like they don't follow directions, and they just like it's getting to the point where it's actually easier to do flex than it is to do LFR. Like that's the sad part. Like the difficulty tier is supposed to go LFR, flex, normal, heroic. But it's starting to get to the point where flex is actually easier because everyone's coordinated and actually trying. You know.
Wow.
So, um, yeah. That said, this isn't the case every time. But I really wish Blizzard would have waited to you to buy your level 90 because right now it's the cap. Like I said, I don't have a problem in Warlords of Draenor because there's 10 fucking levels for them to learn.
And all the experienced people have already moved past 90.
Yeah. So, like fucking, that first night that game was out. This is me. Oh yeah, work. I'm really sick. Click. Okay. Time to play Warcraft for 3 straight days. Um. Anyway, they've been saying pre-order the expansion. In the digital collector's edition, you get a special mount and pet the Dread Raven mount, and the Dread Hatchling. StarCraft 2 portraits for your Battle.net portraits, and Diablo 3 Warsong banners. So that's all fun. That's fine, I guess. As for so there's that. The collector's edition is 70, the regular edition is 50, and that's digital download. I'm not sure what the full retail is going to be. As for so we've talked about a level 90 character boost. If you just want to buy that separately, it's $60, which I think that is a fair price. And here's why I say that. Because if you make the price too low, it completely devalues what is currently a max level character and what later will be a high level character. And it also it also means there's gonna be a lot of 90s running around and just bad shit. But it is also cheap enough to where I kind of just want to get to where my friends are, or I don't want to bother leveling this class or leveling this class on this server. It's cheap enough to where you could do it. So, I don't know. What do you think?
Okay, so you lost me a bit right there. So you got the $60 collector's edition?
Okay, so there's all right. I'm doing something totally. All right, so there's the $70 collector's edition, digital collectors. Then the regular edition is 50, but they've also started selling level 90 character boosts, which is just paying to get your character boosted. So, let's say let's say you use your Warlords of Draenor boost on your shaman, but you also want to get your paladin to 90. You can pay $60 and get another character boosted.
$60. Oh wow, that's a lot of money to boost a character level.
Yeah, but I mean, they had to make it worth some value, or else level 90 is everywhere, as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, that's probably true, but I don't know. Okay, so the character boost is after you burned up your Draenor.
Yeah.
Boost is $60 per character.
Per character, yep.
Okay. And the digital collector's edition is 70.
Yes. And then the regular digital is 50.
Okay.
So, I don't know. These seem like fair prices to me, for the most part. They had to make a level 90 worth some decent amount of money, or else
here's the thing. Everyone's like, oh, but they're making it so expensive. Well, you think about it. Would you like it if, say, the price was $30? Oh, I'm gonna make a Priest, a holy Priest, burn the level up buff, level 90 holy Priest, and then I do an absolutely terrible job trying to heal endgame content because I have no idea what I'm doing or how to even do it. Because one of the reasons why you would want to level from 1 to 90 with a class is so you can actually know how to at least use the basics.
I mean, yeah, you learn when you're playing, for instance, the maids, oh, when I do this spell, it makes it so I can instant cast this spell.
Yeah, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. In Final Fantasy, in FF14, the way that a gladiator tanks at level 20 is in some ways different than what a paladin does at level 50 in the heavy endgame. The rotations are even slightly different because you have some new skills along the way that add to that rotation, and you also have to learn. And basically, to be a good paladin, it's not like you just show up to the club and say, "Yo, guys, I've got the tools." It's like saying that you show up to a racing club and you say, "I've got the car," but then you have no skills to drive in. You end up driving off the road and hit the barrier.
I just pictured a paladin like Uther or Arthas going to a literal nightclub. Get low! Get low! Yeah, that. 369, I'm just fine. Ah. Yeah, that's what I just pictured in my mind.
Well, I was thinking a club more like an organization, but okay, sure. But it's always someone shows up and just I got the tools, but it's showing up to a racetrack saying, "I've got the car, but if you don't know how to drive it, you're gonna crash anyways and
Wait,
look like a total idiot."
we're going to a Tool concert? That's There's a band called
I'm
Tool.
sorry, I don't get that.
Quinn likes them a lot. I think they're a metal band, or like a really heavy rock band. Quinn likes them a lot. I think they're kind of crappy, but I don't know.
Okay, but you get my point. You can
Yeah.
have the stuff, but if you don't know how to use it correctly, you're still you're still gonna not be very good.
That's all. This has pissed me off since the days of Gear Score back in Wrath of the Lich King, where like people would be like, "Hey, we're doing this dungeon that drops like gear that is better than what we want you to wear." And it's just like, fuck you, people, really.
Oh yeah. Actually, in Final Fantasy XIV, it's the other way around.
Okay.
Because in our party finder, you always find these things that they're not. I guess you could say they're looking for an item level, but in the comic section, they're always saying experience required. You must have beaten this to win. And I always can't help but think that they're just saying that because they are not good enough and they're looking for experienced people to make up for the fact that they're not good enough, or they legitimately are fed up with failing a gazillion times, or they're just too lazy.
WoW would do the same thing because WoW has what they would either say asinine item level or gear score or link achievement. And it's just like, ugh. I hate you people. That's why I always did really low gear scores or really low item levels. Like I wanted you to be able to do it, but that was it. It's just like, can you get into the dungeon? Like I actually cared more. Like if honestly, I did when I was looking for DPS. I would say I don't give a shit about your gear score, or your item level. Send me a DPS meter of you in an actual fight.
See, for me,
that's what I would do.
The thing is that I don't see. The thing is that Final Fantasy XIV doesn't exactly do. You can't do add-ons to it, so there really isn't a DPS meter that you can rely on. However, my way of doing it would be, if I was new to something, I would create a party and post it into the party finder. Hey guys, I'm new. I would like to learn this. If anyone wants to help me learn, please join in. And if you're new also join in and we'll learn this together. And if I wanted to build a party to say actually go through Titan hard mode maybe, I would say, okay guys, it is preferable that you have some experience, and if you don't have much experience, but you're able to learn, but you're willing to try and learn, feel free to come in. You know, that's my policy. Just like if you're able to learn, come on in. And if you have, and at least tried it a few times. Like you don't need to have to pass it. Just at least try it so you actually have a good idea of what your mistakes are and what you need to work on.
The two things that stand out in my mind are when I was gearing my warrior during Wrath, and Onyxia and ICC came out. Or Onyxia came out and ICC was out. They were both out around the same time. And there was a group for Onyxia, and they're like 5K gear score, and I had like 4.6, and I'm like, no, but I had the level 60 Onyxia from back when I rated it in vanilla, so I linked that achievement. They're like, well, okay, fine, you can come be the off tank, and I remember this happened. The fucking main tank just bitches the entire time. It's like he's under geared if I die, or what if he sucks at getting the whelps? Fuck this. You guys are idiots, but fine, I'll go along with it because we need 10 people. And that motherfucker dies. I pick up Onyxia and the whelps and solo tank that shit. It was awesome.
What did they say afterwards?
Everyone's like, "Good job, Sarge, great job," and then the one tank just shuts up. It was hilarious. And then this other one is this really badass guild on our server was doing a run through ICC like right after it was released, it was right to the point where the Plague Wings were out, and they. And my gear score was like 4.8, 4.7, something like that. And they're like 5K gear score, 5K gear score. And there are no tanks on with 5K gear score. And I'm like, well, I have 4.7. And they're like, fine, we'll take you. But pay the fuck attention. And I am fair. Like when I actually try and give a shit, I'm really good at World of Warcraft. Really hard to be bad at it. Like I don't see how you can be bad at that game. If you actually try anyway. Uh, and and we just destroy the first four, like 3 or 4 bosses of ICC, and I think like we're like, and like that night I ended up getting a bunch of gear and going all the way up to 5.3k gear score, and I remember that I think the boss that stopped us was so ICC's bosses the way it was split up is there were the first 4 that you had to tackle in order. And then there was the Blood Wing, the Plague Wing, and the Frost Wing. The order that the game designers wanted you to go in and was probably the easiest was Plague, Blood, Frost. We did the Plague Wing pretty easily. Professor Putricide was kind of rough, and then we went to the Blood Wing and got our ass kicked. Went to the Frost Wing, got through all the trash, but then we did the first boss and just got our ass kicked and had to stop. But the thing I remember about that is we one-shotted almost every boss up until that point, but we wiped on trash like 6 times. Like we were talking.
It's like how in TV and movies they have this person who's an absolute savant, just the best, brightest kind there is. But then when it comes to the basic task of going shopping, they just don't know how to do it.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. Like we were even joking, like, God, we should like this was a pickup group. A lot of people were from the same guild. It's just like we should just name this weekly run "Wipes on Trash One Shots Bosses." And I actually ran with them for like a week or two while everyone in our guild was gearing up still for ICC, and that's who I was doing. So for the first couple of weeks of ICC, I was with a group not their guild because we didn't form guilds because we all liked our separate guilds, but we were all at the point where we were ahead of our guilds as far as progression went. So for a couple weeks there, I was in Wipes on Trash One Shots Bosses.
That's pretty funny, if I'm honest.
We fucking one-shotted Professor Putricide, which, God knows, that was a bitch back in the day. So that all that fun news is out and about Warlords of Draenor. Continuing with the Warcraft news, the Blizzard news rather. Sorry, the Diablo expansion is out, and basically they said, "Hey, everything you hated about Diablo 3, we fixed it," and people apparently love this expansion.
Really now?
Everyone I have talked to is like, you gotta max out your barbarian so you can come play with us. You gotta play it. And I'm thinking about it. My barbarian's like level 20, and I am on like Act 3, so I'm thinking about it. Or like I'm on Act 2, and so what they added with that is they added a new class, the Crusader. A new act called Act 5. They've bumped the level cap to 70 and given each class a new skill. Adventure mode, bounties, and then rifts, which are randomized dungeons. And one thing that they've done is they got rid of the auction house, and they made it so loot drops more often. And it's also specialized for your class, more often than not. So, like, let's say, like, 3 rare bows, like 3 rare items drop. Chances are two of those items are going to be for you, instead of what it was, at least in my experience with Diablo 3, is where all 3 of those items were not for me; they were for the Witch Doctor. Because fuck my life,
man. If you want to talk about like gearing up wrong because while being new to Diablo, like when I played Diablo 3, I played as a demon hunter. But the thing is that I wasn't exactly quite in the MMO mindset or the Diablo mindset quite yet, where it was, you need vitality to live, right? You need health to survive. And I wasn't really going for that because I thought the only stat I was supposed to focus on was dexterity, which is fine. But the problem is, I was playing this game on normal, and I unintentionally made it a lot harder on myself by not focusing on vitality. And I was just like, why can't I beat Diablo? This game is impossible. And it's only normal. But then I find out focus vitality because I did a Google search, and there's some people that ask some pretty newbie questions too. The same kinds I was asking myself. And then I went to the auction house, bought some ridiculously cheap, inexpensive Demon Hunter gear that actually did focus on vitality, and then bam, Diablo became the easiest boss. And I'm just like, I can't believe I played like 90% of that game with severely inadequate health. But I'm kind of proud of it because at least that kind of put me, kept my edge on. Especially when I was playing with a hiccup internet connection, and I'm pretty sure everyone obviously knows of Blizzard's about the incredibly unpopular decision to sync the entire game to a server.
That reminds me of when I was playing, like, my first playthrough of Final Fantasy X. I didn't understand the leveling system, so I was vastly underleveled through that entire game. So that when I figured out the leveling system halfway through the game, and by that point I just fucked up so bad that I basically just made that game way harder than it needed to be. Okay, so Diablo's doing really well, along with so its expansion pack is doing really well, and everyone likes the new the getting rid of the auction house and having more gear drop. In fact, that's actually a patch, so if you want to play regular Diablo, there you go. But on the other side of Diablo news, they also announced the PS4, sorry, not 3, Ultimate Evil Edition, or not announced, but they showed more of it off at PAX East. It'll have all of Diablo 3, plus the expansion, plus some PlayStation-specific extras. And instead of being kind of skill-based, it'll be more control, more real-time combat. Kind of like a Gauntlet or Gauntlet's a good example. And it's going to be 4-player couch co-op. I totally want us to do this for 60-minute access in the future.
Okay, we can do that. We can do that.
I'll be a barbarian. You'll be a demon hunter. I don't know what Bremen will be. And then we'll have to...
He'll probably go for whatever the sexiest lady would look like.
What is the sexiest lady?
I don't know. I don't know much about Diablo 3.
I'm going to look at the character builds. I guess the wizard?
Okay, so he can go around as a sexy wizard and say, I'm a wizard.
And that looks fucked up.
Exactly. Well, that's one of my favorite quotes from Giant Bomb right there. Love that quote.
So yeah, Diablo 3, like I said, Diablo 3, they have... So Reaper of Souls is out. It's really popular. Definitely go look into it. That 2.0 patch fixed a lot of stuff. But moving forward with more Blizzard games, Hearthstone, the free-to-play card game that is, in my opinion, it's a lot simpler than Magic the Gathering, which makes it more fun. And it's a lot faster paced too. In fact, it's actually might even be faster paced than old school Yu-Gi-Oh, which makes me love the living crap out of it.
Okay.
So I've been playing it off and on. It's really the perfect 15, play this for 10, 15 minutes, stop, play it 10, 15 minutes, stop type of game. And they have finally put it out on the iPad in beta. In fact, if you play it on iPad right now, you will get a free pack for your Battle.net account. And just so you know, all your decks and stuff transfer over. So if you've built a really kick-ass custom deck and have a lot of kick-ass cards, it will carry over to the iPad version. So yeah.
Sweet.
Anthony,
the power cloud is slowly coming to us.
Anthony, you should play some Hearthstone. Not gonna lie.
I might, yeah.
It is a fun game. Maybe we'll call that our Memorial Day game.
Really?
We'll just start celebrating every holiday at TGA.
Yeah, we're gonna be like all those stores that always have a sale for every single minor holiday on the freaking calendar. President's Day sale.
Groundhog Day.
Do they actually do that?
Yeah, that's a thing. Don't you remember? Like where the
I know, no, no, no,
groundhogs
no,
you.
no, no, no. I'm talking about stores having sales for Groundhog Day. I know what Groundhog
Oh,
Day is, actually.
okay. I thought you were to say
No,
like
I know what
I
Groundhog Day is. If it comes out and it sees its shadow, it goes back to sleep because spring did not come early, right? Or did I get that backwards?
I dude, I don't know.
I don't know. All I know it involves is that the groundhog comes out of the ground. If it sees its shadow, it runs back into the ground.
Yeah, that's what I know. So we are
All I
both.
know is that one of those, whether it sees a shadow or not, is somehow related to whether spring will come early or not. Something like
Yeah,
that. Interesting
you
holiday, really. But when you think about it, a lot of the holidays on the U.S. calendar, freaking a lot of it is kind of there for corporate sales. It's like President's Day sale. Come to your furniture store and buy stuff for President's Day. Or yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
yeah.
As if
All
the
right.
holiday season wasn't enough of your gigantic, like as if the holiday season, Thanksgiving and Christmas wasn't enough for you to like have your marketing department light the marketing on fire.
Um.
Anyways, tangent.
So, they also announced the first expansion pack and single player mode for Hearthstone. Right now, Hearthstone's only single player is just practicing against bots, and that's kind of a bummer because I like it. I'd rather suck against real people than keep playing bots. That's my you
Yeah,
know.
because computers get really boring.
Yeah,
Because depending on the difficulty, if you play like on the easier difficulty settings, they get very predictable, and it's no fun when they're predictable. You notice patterns with AI. With a person, very unpredictable at times. You can guess tendencies, but you can't really guess the exact next move. Which, whew, yeah.
yep. All right, so it's called The Curse of Naxxramas. And it is basically ancient necropolis that Kel'Thuzad had control of. It's going to have five each wing from the raid, and you'll gain new cards for Hearthstone Collection by defeating each boss you'll face along the way. Bosses from the raid. Let's see, and also each boss has its own unique cards and hero powers to challenge, even people who think you're a badass. You'll overcome challenges. You'll get all new Hearthstone cards. Once you earn these cards, you can start playing them within your decks right away. It's a total of 30 new cards will be added to your deck. They showed off a couple of previews. Preview cards, Undertaker. Whenever you summon a minion with Death Rattle, you gain +1 attack and +1 health. Shade of Naxxramas. At the start of your turn, gain +1 attack, +1 health. Nerubian Egg, Death Rattle, summon a 4/4 Nerubian. Do Death Rattle, draw a card. Uh, so I don't know. Oh, also there's a new game board. There's new backs to cards. It will open over the course of 5 weeks, each week opening a new wing. It starts with the Arachnid Quarter, which it's the spider wing for those of you who played WoW. Um, what I find funny about this is they're opening with the Arachnid Quarter, but that was not the easiest quarter in WoW. The easiest quarter was the Plague Quarter because Noth the Plague Bringer was a joke. The safety dance was hilarious, and my guild sucked at it, but most guilds didn't. And then the last boss of that wing was actually kind of a pain in the ass, but not too much. So I don't know. I don't know. Seems like a good expansion, and it's free. Totally free.
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 We should write us. We should ask Paul and Storm to write a song about free.
You should. Free to
Yeah.
play.
Well, I wouldn't say free to play, just free. Actually, they should write a song on Steam sales also. While they're at, games can be cheap. Oh boy, that's gonna be evil.
So I am really agitated right now because a friend of mine, literally 30 minutes ago, posted on Facebook, he just got an invite to the Heroes of the Storm Alpha.
Didn't you say you have like a history of Blizzard always ignoring your pleas to join any of their betas?
Fuck! Why, Blizzard? Why? My God, I host a podcast for your fucking games. Ugh.
Maybe you should send him an email.
I'm considering that. I'm actually considering that. Like, hey, we can do 60-minute access of Heroes of the Storm. Uh, uh, oh God, I don't know. Like that'd actually be a good 60-minute access, though. Wouldn't you agree? Heroes of the
It
Storm.
probably would be. Yeah.
You can watch me.
Considering you talk about it so much, it's gonna be like, yeah, let's get it out of our system, and also kind of
Uh,
see if this is like something, if this game can can provide the fun. I mean, it's not like a super ultra serious MOBA game, but maybe it could provide like kind of like a Smash Brothers sort of fun.
I actually have a. So I've been really pissed off at MOBAs recently because I can't play Heroes of the Storm because it's not out yet, and Blizzard hates me because they don't want to put me in their betas or alphas. I have been in one Blizzard beta, and I paid for it. No, wait, two. But Hearthstone eventually was open to everyone. So I've been in two. One was the with the annual pass. One everyone got into. Fuck me, right? All right. Anyway, uh, well, we'll talk about some more Heroes of the Storm stuff in a minute. Oh my God, just Heroes of the Storm. We'll transfer over to that. That is Blizzard's MOBA. They've announced that. Or well, they announced at BlizzCon, but they've announced some more stuff at PAX East, and they've started the alpha. Um, God, I feel like I'm missing something from Hearthstone though. Did I? God, I'm trying to remember what I wanted to bring up before this. Anthony, help me out here. Oh, MOBAs, Dota. My copy of Dota is broken, along with anyone who has a Linksys router right now.
Wait,
So
what?
or my specific model of router. Sorry.
Oh, right.
So
Well, that model router is the WRT 100.
yeah. So
Yeah.
if you have one of their 100 WRT 100 series actually of routers, you are not playing Dota right now.
Darn, I have a WRT 160N.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you might be able to get in.
Yeah,
but
like the 160N, it actually works better because WRT 100 was just buggy and kind of a little broken all the time.
well,
Which is kind of funny because that was a Windows Vista era router, which seems pretty consistent with Windows Vista itself.
well. I'll tell you this: it's been great. I've had two problems with this router. One, when I download shit on Steam, I've actually had to limit my download speeds because if it goes too fast, it causes it to freak out and drops my internet connection. And two is this Dota thing. But it's actually still faster and less problems than my old Netgear.
Those Netgear routers, I can agree, were not very good. But it was the router that just about everyone had because it was like, oh, it's wireless. And yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a list of like necessary upgrades for this year, and router is one of those. Router is on that list. Computer mouse is on that list. Well, phone was going to be on that list, but that happened. Just quality of life upgrades. I've actually considered putting TV on that list, but I'm going to delay it a little longer. And the reason is because, and I wasn't even thinking about TV until like so my car has had an oil leak, and I've been working on it over the past couple weeks, trying to fix it. And I've been buying a lot of oil because of this, which is right by the TVs at Walmart. And I keep walking by these TVs, and I'm like, dude, these TVs are really cheap for like how big and good they are.
I mean, think about this. When we were at CES at the beginning of 2013, 4K was new at the time. And those TVs costed like 12 grand. Like, you could buy a pretty nice used car with that much money. But this year, right now, 2 grand, 3 grand.
Yeah, no, dude, I saw it.
The price just plunged after a year.
Okay, get this. I really thought about this because I figured I could sell my TV for about $200-300. and because it still is an HD TV and it's 50 inches, and I keep it in great shape. So I can probably sell mine for about $2 or $3. So I saw this Samsung 120 hertz 1080p 50 inch for $700, and I was just like, if I sell mine, that thing is only $400. That's less than I paid for my mom's TV, and that's only 24 inches. Uh, so I thought about it for a minute there.
I mean,
Uh,
we've kind of reached the point where HD TVs 1080p,
yeah,
it's normal now. It's not cutting edge anymore. HD, that was like HD just got like its big boost like what 8 years ago. I
yeah,
think yeah, about 8 years ago, 8, 9, 10 years ago was when HD was big. So we've kind of reached the point in we've reached the point where it's like HD is normal. It's normal now. Of course, for me, it's a little hard to accept because my idea of normal still is a bit stuck in the late 90s
well,
with DVDs. But then again,
well,
I never really
like,
had the nicest televisions for a while.
like when it comes to TV prices, I'm stuck in like when I bought this thing, where like, oh god damn it, a 50-inch LED is going to cost me like $1,600, and fuck that, I'm not going to do that. But like this thing was an LED, it was 50 inches, it had four HDMI ports, and it was $700, and I was just like, and I had that thought. I was like, I could sell my TV for 200-300 because I've seen it, because I looked up how much I could sell it for, and people are selling it for 4 to 5. So I'd take two or three, preferably three, and then go buy that other one for. I was like, meh, this is not like I thought about it. I was like, maybe but I've decided I'm gonna ride this current one for another year or two. I'm gonna ride the wave on this thing for another year or two to see if they get even cheaper. With 4K coming out now.
They probably will.
Uh,
Because 720p is like SD crap now, apparently.
apparently, I saw a 50-inch 720p set for like $500. I was like,
Like
God.
720p is like the new SD now.
Uh,
And yeah, because 720p is like 720p is all about 1080p now. 1080p is the normal now, and 4K is the next step forward. It's not the huge leap forward, but it's the next step forward. So it's gonna be pretty interesting, really.
yeah.
Honestly, though, for me personally, I am more interested in computer monitors because I don't really game on the TV in the living room. I game from my desk.
So
My Wii U is plugged to my computer monitor, and thank goodness Nintendo came up with that system update where you could put out the audio through a different plug. So I could just put it through the composite audio RCA cables and just plug it into my desk speakers, and bam, I could play my Wii U at my desk. Same with my PS3. I could, like, the 360 had the VGA cables, and that was good for a while. So, gaming from my desk. So, I'm a person who probably would look into computer monitors more.
So for me,
So yeah,
so
and computer monitors are still a little expensive. The good ones, at least.
So I'm in this weird place with that where like my old room, absolutely you wanted television, right? Like my old room was perfect for a TV, especially one this size. But my current room, I'm in a weird place to where like I could kind of go for either. Um, but I kind of want to go future proof by going for a probably the same size, to be honest. Um, One thing that has actually been bothering the fucked up part about this TV is the number one thing that's been bothering me about it has not been the picture quality or even the size. It's been the lack of HDMI ports. I have two for four systems.
I believe a standard TV has 4.
Thank God. Because I have four.
I know Sony Bravias. I think if you buy like a medium high range Sony Bravia, it definitely comes with 4 HDMI ports.
Right now I'm looking at Samsung's because you still get good picture quality, but it not for Sony prices. You get near Sony picture quality for sane person prices.
Yeah, but with
Uh,
Sony, you get like a pretty darn really nicely built television. Now I
oh,
understand
you
that.
do.
I understand
Sony
that.
TVs are like the thing is though is if you are not buying those things on clearance, they will rape you.
Yeah, yeah, that's like one of the things is that that's just Sony in general. I mean,
Yeah, no, I
cheap
know.
like
I
like
love Sony equipment.
Sony yeah, like Sony has built this image that they are about quality, high, medium high and high end products, right? I mean,
My
I think the only time you ever find anything cheap from them is if you bought one of their SD cards from Amazon, which I did for my 3DS. But other
no
than that,
no
their cameras expensive, their TVs expensive, the computers they used to make expensive. Like Sony makes expensive high end equipment. And yeah, there
the
are a couple
real
cases where they wouldn't be expensive and high end. Like in the case of their game consoles, the PS4, I wouldn't exactly call that thing the most high end. The PS3 definitely was though, and that bit them really hard.
So the thing about
Anyways,
Sony is like I've always had good experiences with Sony products. In fact, it's really funny. Usually, what happens is I buy a product that really cheap, it breaks, and then I buy the Sony product, and it ends up lasting forever. And this bad habit started with this. I actually have it right here in my drawer. It's a portable CD player. I bought a portable CD player with some with like 3 or 4 weeks allowance. It was like one of those $20-$30 ones. And Anthony, you traveled with me. You know I treat portable devices like shit.
yeah, you sit
Like
on them, you throw them in.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I absolutely treat portable devices like garbage. Which is exactly why I very much like Nintendo products because they take a licking and keep on ticking. Uh,
GameCube's a good example.
uh, the
Yeah.
Vita has been surprisingly sturdy. I'm not gonna lie, like as the destroyer of PSPs, the Vita has withstood all the punishment I put it through. Um,
Or, well, I have a temptation to think that you actually take care of it because it is a $250 portable that you spend
I'm
a lot of money
I'm
on.
I'm more careful with it than I am the DS. That is true. But even then, though, like I babied my PSP and that fucker still broke. So, in fact, what happened with my PSP is I had the Slim, and the Slim. What you would do is when you'd close it, it would like it would go in far enough to where the little thing inside said, "Oh, it's closed. You can read disc now without it falling out." Mine broke, and that little piece of plastic like broke off. So what I did is I got a little piece of tin foil and made one of my own. Uh,
Wow.
yeah. Did that for a while until I bought a PSP Go. God, every time I say that, just a lot of shame just washes over
You
me.
liked it. You liked it, didn't you?
PSP Go was rad. Like people talk a lot of shit about the Go, and it wasn't the best idea by Sony. But first off, I didn't pay full price for it. I didn't pay the 250. I paid 200. Second off, it came with 3 games. So as far as I'm concerned, that makes up the $70 price difference. Or not 70, the $30 price difference. Came with 3 games, two of which were fucking great games. Third off, it was just really awesome to not have any UMDs or carts. Like I had like 20 games on that thing and just boom, plays, goes. It was super small, like the smallest portable I've ever had. It was really comfortable. Oh, and every PSP game looked better on it because it was the same resolution on a smaller screen. You know? Uh yeah, PSP Go, like had they executed that better, it could have been really awesome. But no, they fucked up. They made it more expensive than a regular PSP, and they also didn't get their entire library onto the internet. They got a lot of their library onto the internet. Like I remember that update when that came out. I was like, holy shit, they got like every PSP game on here, except a couple of them that were really important, like Luminous.
My problem with the PSP Go was that if you weren't really near your PS3, you were running the thing on wireless B, which for me was really odd in an era where wireless G had became the norm because wireless
Well,
B is very
that
slow.
that is just the legacy of the PSP. That's just because
Yeah,
they had to use the same shit that was in the old PSP. You know, like that
I
was
know, but
just
the PSP line in general was just like, what the hell?
I mean the
And
PSP
like,
when it
like in
came,
the case of the DS, it kind of made sense. It's like, oh, it's a low-powered system, so it's natural. It's really slow, and the fact that the DS Lite could only support up to WEP, which is very insecure. So if you had a WPA network like most houses have today, your DS Lite is out of luck.
I
Actually, to be
remember
honest, those portals
actually I
weren't
remember
exact.
playing I had the original DS, not a DS Lite, and I remember playing online, like it would not fucking recognize my router unless I was like 3 feet away from it. Like it was the
Yeah,
most
like
annoying shit.
yeah.
Like I remember like I was like, "Oh, I want to play Mario Kart online." And the way it was set up at the time is our kitchen was right next to where our computer was, and my dad always hung out in the kitchen or the living room, which was the same room. We had a really big we had one of those living rooms that was like this kitchen uh living room combo, was just like this really huge open room. And like he was just sitting there as I'm like sitting next to this router. He's like, "What are you doing?" Like trying to play Mario Kart. God, you know, like just, ugh, God. The PSP for when it came, like, no, when the PSP came out, like it sold like gangbusters, and like at the time it seemed like this brilliant idea, right? It's like, oh, we're gonna take everything awesome about the iPod, and then combine it with a PS2. You know, like that was the idea. And I mean,
Which sounded pretty cool at the
yeah,
time. But
like,
the thing was is that the PSP was a little premature. I
yeah,
felt because of memory. Nowadays, flash memory is actually pretty cheap. You could buy like a 32 gigabyte SD card for like $20 or $30, and it would be reasonably fast, easy. But in 2003,
2005.
in 2005, your iPod only probably had 2 or 4 gigabytes on it at most, and PS2 grade games were like DVD sized, and that means you had literally next to no storage space for
I, I'm
games.
I am
So
looking
you
up
had
what
to. So
iPods were
what's
out in '05. Uh,
iPod Nano, the 2 gigabyte models of the
The
iPod Nano.
iPod. Okay, so it was the so here were the iPods that were no iPod. Oh, wait, here we go. It was the Shuffle, the Nano, and then the iPod with a video. So
iPod Classic.
the
It's,
Shuffle
it
was
wasn't it wasn't called the Classic yet at that time, but it
no.
was getting there.
The Nano was, in my opinion, okay. The Shuffle was dumb as hell, and the video. So how much fucking memory did the iPod video have? Now I'm curious.
The iPod being Apple though, it was really expensive at the time.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah, we could check
Uh,
Wiki.
Okay, let's see. Holy crap, that's actually a lot of space. That is a
Eight
lot.
gigabytes. I'm guessing
That
four or
that is
eight.
a no, like the year. Oh, here we go. Uh, Depending on if you are going fifth gen or fourth gen, your low end option is 20 gigs. Holy shit,
I am very tempted that that's a hard drive platter.
it is.
So we should probably look at Flash better because PSPs don't have hard drive platters.
Well, yeah, but I'm looking at the iPod. What you would want is the iPod Mini, and the answer to your question is 4 gigabytes.
Okay, yeah,
Uh,
but that's the iPod Mini, which is quite expensive at the time.
and if you want to go an iPod Nano, it's 1 gigabyte or 2 gigabytes. So depending on which model you go with. Um, okay, okay, so yeah, but like I remember when the PSP came out, the whole thing that stopped me from buying one because they were $250 without a game and with only 32 megabytes of memory, so just game saves basically, and maybe like two songs, um, and that was the memory cards because the fucking like a 512 memory card was $60 and a gig was $100. And I was like, fuck you. I have my Creative Zen Nano, which can hold a gig of music and play FM radio, and is the size of a AA battery. So no, this is dumb. Uh, so that was my response to that. And I didn't buy a PSP until 2007 when they released those bundles where it came with a gig of built-in memory, and then like 2 years later you can buy 4 gigs for $10. Like no problem. Um, and then they make the same mistake with the Vita. How fucked up is that, right? Like the
Yeah,
Vita,
like they said, they came out and said, we make proprietary memory because we want all Vita storage to perform at the exact same level. Yeah, I guess that's a good point, but wow, did you make it really expensive doing that?
I mean, like
Because I understand the concern because an uneducated gamer would buy like a 64 gigabyte SD card, and then it would find out that it wouldn't work because SDXC has to use a file system that's only available through Microsoft, which is going to be a pain. So that's another problem. Second problem, they would buy like a 32 gigabyte SD card because like, oh, I'm going to get the $10 one, then realize the speeds are cripplingly slow, and they'd be like, my Vita is broken because it won't work with this SD card, when really the SD card wasn't really designed to do fast speeds.
I
Like
have a
that, I
16
can understand.
gig SD card, and it's not nearly enough. 32 gig cards are $70, and if you want to import a 64 gig because they're not out in America for another, I want to say 3 or 4 months, it's $115.
Yeah, but anyways, like if like I understand that in the SD card argument, like 64 is not going to be recognized by the system because the file system might have to be licensed somewhere. And with 32, it's just like, oh, we can get the $10 one, and it's too slow. Okay, so that kind of makes sense. However, Sony overpriced the memory cards to the point where it's ridiculous, really. Like, yes, proprietary is more expensive, but the way they did it, they made it quite a lot more expensive than, say, a comparable high-speed SD card of similar
I mean, if it was
performance.
if it was like 10
capacity,
maybe,
I mean.
if it was like 10, maybe even $20 more expensive, it wouldn't rub me the wrong way. But like, how much is a 64 gig SD card?
$60?
Uh,
$70?
it's
Maybe?
double. It's almost double. It's almost double.
Let me
Like,
check on
how fucked is
Amazon.
that? How fucked is that? It's almost double. Like, Jesus. Like, it's $80 for a 32 gig. How much is a 32 gig SD card?
Okay. So you can buy a 64 gigabyte SD card with a 10 megabyte transfer speed, guaranteed write speed, for $37, $38 from Amazon.
That's one third to 1/4 the price.
And the 32 gigabyte card that I got from my DS, which was also branded Sony, I believe costed me $17, $18, $20. I got it on a sale.
And I get that these Vita memory cards are incredibly tiny. Like I'm not sure if I remember showing this to you, but this thing is like the size of the nail on your middle finger. Like that's how big that thing is. It is tiny. Uh, like I mean Sony. I don't know. Like I guess you had to do this for some reason, but god damn, that's annoying. Um, oh man, just why? That's what I want to know. Anyway, back to our original topic of PC news and PC gaming stuff. I was yes, MOBAs. Dota's been broken as fuck. For those of you with this Linksys router that I have. And I am too lazy to pull out my Netgear every time I want to play Dota and tell everyone else who uses my network just to change your devices. So I was just like, fuck it, I won't play Dota, but I've been wanting to play a MOBA, so I've decided to play League of Legends. Man, that was the worst idea ever.
Yeah, playing League of Legends is.
That is the worst video game community ever. Ever. Like, worse than Gears of War, worse than racist Call of Duty kids, worse than, just the worst. The absolute worst. There is no worst.
I've played League of Legends for 3 months last summer, around the summertime. And let me tell you, we always talk about how Call of Duty has a crappy community because it's run by a bunch of immature children that haven't even finished puberty yet. Right? But the thing is that in Call of Duty, if you keep quiet and you keep to yourself and you're not doing superiorly well, they'll leave you alone. Because those kinds of people are looking for responses, and if you don't respond to them, they'll just ignore you and then just try and find someone else, and they sometimes do.
That's how it is most of the time, unless you're bad. And because I was trying to apply Dota logic to League, I was terrible.
Yeah, like in Call of Duty, if you suck, no big deal, because in Call of Duty, a game can actually be won by a single person or two on the team in a death match. So it's not really quite as team orientated. In League, everyone has to do their job correctly. Unless the other team is quite a ways worse, then you can probably pull it off with only 4 people. But really, when you have like teams that are kind of matched up as far as, you know, skill level and all that stuff, it's a 5-man effort. And if one person doesn't live up to it, that makes them a pretty darn easy target. And let me tell you, I got verbally harassed quite a lot in League. Like, I've had people telling me, you know, it's like, oh, you're worthless. Oh, you're a coward. You're a coward. And I'm just like, yeah, in your ways is better. Your way is better, which is, you know, dive head in first to a losing effort. Yeah, that's great logic. And wow, like, it's made worse by the fact that when you win in League, and I'm pretty sure Dota has the same thing, when you win in those games, the high of winning is so great. I mean, this is why people play these games so much, because you feel that you're in control, you've got the skill, you've got a lot of skill and power, and you're in control and you are mastering this game, and you are not going to stop until you're like king of the mountain or something like that. Hence why these esports are like so huge. And but there's a huge price to that. The crash is so hard when you lose. In a way, you keep playing when you lose, because you're like, oh man, I am not gonna lose on a bad. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna stop on the bad note. I need to win. But then if you win, you keep going. But anyways, it's kind of like this gaming compulsion thing. And when you have a person with behavioral problems get the high of winning and then start losing, they get really, really bad. Like, very aggressive in the way they talk. They start attacking people, they start harassing people, they look for any reason whatsoever as to why they lost. And they don't look at themselves, because they can do no wrong. They follow their checklists on their characters, and, you know, and I've seen that before. I've seen people who think they've done no wrong because they thought they followed the checklist to the letter, and if they follow their checklist, they'll win, right? Or do better. When really the game is so dynamic, you can't really apply that logic. And they get very aggressive. It's unbelievable, really.
I think the biggest comparison with me was when I would do, like, let's say I'd go into a match with veteran League players and then and then a Dota match with veteran Dota players. The veteran Dota players say, no, this is what you need to do. Here's where you go to look at a build. All right, in this match we're playing against these heroes. Who is your hero is good against those. Here's who she's weak against. Da 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 da. They'd actually try and help you. League players, why are you suck, baddie? Everybody sucks but me, baddie. Fucking da 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 da. Start arguing with teammates. Fucking arguing at me, bitching at me. And it's just like, wow, why would anyone want to keep playing this? Like, this.
They play more for the skill aspect and the winning than more about because the thing is that the problem is that until you reach the level cap, which I forgot what it was because it's been that long, they start putting you into tiers according to whether you've won 3 of the next 5 games or something like that, or, you know, stuff like that. And if you're like in the gold tier or the platinum tier or something like that, you can pretty much be confident that you're going to have competent people, because those people understand that this is a team effort and understand that as long as you're not failing too horribly, they will respect you and, and work with you to an extent. And the bronze tier is like the bottom tier. And each tier is divided into 5 divisions. So if you're in bronze, I forgot what the term League players called it, where you can be permanently stuck in a tier because your teammates aren't willing to work with you, so you can never get out. So you're stuck down there forever, which is very unfortunate, actually, for those who actually do want to move up. But when you're leveling, oh dear, you're going to have to put up with a lot of crap. So much of it. And you know what? Like all communities, League's community seems really awful because of the 20 or 30% that make it suck for everyone else. Like, every game I feel, the majority are good. It's just like, it's just a very vocal minority.
League has the most players playing it right now, so it is going to have the biggest chance to have assholes. That said, like, the degree of their assholeness is shocking.
Like I said, when you've got the high of winning and you crash down, a person with behavioral problems is going to get extremely aggressive.
I get that, but like, what? Like, even from the start, like, Dota has that same high and those same lows, and like these people are like,
that's because That's because in Dota, if you really harass somebody, you're at risk of losing your entire game's library.
I think League.
Okay. Like with League, what are they gonna do? Ban your IP? Well, then just spoof another IP, and then bam, you can make another account.
It's irritating. Anyway, we'll move past this into MOBA news of Heroes of the Storm. So they've announced some more heroes. They had their original 20 heroes, and they're going to keep adding until the game is actually out. And the originals but the new heroes they have added that they announced at PAX were, god damn it, I had it right here, and then I lost the page. God damn me. Fairy Brightwing, which, how do I explain this? He's basically a fairy dragon from Warcraft. They started in the expansion to Warcraft 3. I'm gonna pull up how he plays right now.
You mean those cute little things?
Yes.
That hang about in Hydro all the time?
Yes, those things. Yes, his name is Brightwing. He has the ability to passively heal any nearby allies. He can transform enemies into animals. He is a versatile support hero capable of teleporting from ally to ally, healing them, and providing them with the help they need. So, I think so. One thing about Heroes of the Storm that I've been really intrigued about is, yes, the main battle matters, but they have stuff on the map that makes it so you break out of the standard lanes and actually go to other parts of the map and help your teammate. Also,
in League, breaking out of lanes is actually a pretty common occurrence. It just happens at specific phases of the match, actually.
Well, in this, it's like if you don't get to get to this. A perfect example is like the Dragon Knight. Like, if you don't get the Dragon Knight on your side, or the cannons on your side in the pirate map, you can essentially, fuck yourself. Like, you can be waiting the whole game, and that can turn it around. So I think that's kind of neat. The trailer for Brightwing is fucking hilarious. He's like, I want to hug you! Da-da-da-da-da! And he just is turning, enemies into, birds and pigs and murdering them all.
That sounds a lot like Annie from League. Alright. It's like the cute, adorable murderer. Oh, that's kind of creepy.
So, the next one that they announced was Lily Stormstout, which is Chen Stormstout's little niece. She is another support hero with an ability set up that helps her effectively aid her teammates throughout the game. She has lots of ways to protect herself, and she doesn't need to be babysit. And you'll see a lot of her in, you'll see a lot of her in Blizzard streams over the next while. The next one is from StarCraft, Zagara. Zagara has map-wide components to her design. She can drop creep tumors that spread Zerg creep, which helps speeds up her movement as well as the speed of her summons. What's more, Zegra can use Nigus worms to hop back and forth on the map, giving her plenty of opportunity to spread creep and siege multiple lanes at once.
That's gonna be interesting.
That sounds cool as shit. I'm not gonna lie. That sounds really fucking awesome. Like, could you imagine that? Just like, all right, I'm gonna unleash a bunch of creep into this lane, teleport back to this lane, and start whooping people's asses, and then fly back to that other lane.
See, you're assuming that it's going to be a powerful move, when really they could just nerf in which the creep is. Those little buddies aren't really quite as powerful as you think they are, for balancing reasons.
I get that, but let's say I'm fighting in lane 1 as Arthas, and I need a little help. You could go over there, send some creep to give me a slight edge, and then teleport back to your lane and keep your fight up. Like, that is still a really cool idea, in my opinion.
I feel like that's more like an ultimate.
It might be.
Yeah, if that sounds a bit more like an ultimate, like an emergency button.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays. Then we have Murky, the Murloc.
Oh, no.
Murky the Murloc. I'm
no.
so happy. I am so happy about that. I love that they're making this game as ridiculous as possible. I'm gonna be honest. This game is like being like, you know how we've said the Vita is kind of targeted directly at me.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about this game. It's like, okay, we're gonna make it ridiculous. We're gonna make it easy to learn but hard to master. It's gonna be a Blizzard fanboy's dream, and it'll run on any computer. You know, like.
You better be careful when you say that, because then I'm gonna put that game on my laptop, and we'll see if it actually can run on a toaster.
All right, fine.
I mean, League is actually a toaster game, and I believe Dota might be also. Basically, Dota's like League, higher, but... like believe it or not, League is such a toaster game on the graphics card that basically my CPU is actually limiting League on my laptop because my the processor is very bad at single-threaded performance. So yeah.
Wow. All right, I'm gonna go to Dota. I'm gonna say, what is Dota's minimum specs? Dota's minimum: Windows 7. Dual-core processor, 4 gigs of RAM, and a GeForce 8600.
Okay, yeah, maybe. Okay, Dota doesn't sound like a toaster game then. League can definitely run on my computer at 30 frames per second if I shove everything to minimum. And you know what? League isn't really a game that has been like graphically amazing, anyways. It was just a game that was graphically designed to be good enough.
I was gonna say there are points when Dota looks really good.
Well, Dota kind of has like a higher sense of quality about it from a presentational standpoint, because you got to think about it. You've got Riot Games, which has nothing but League, and then you have Valve, which has a lot of money at its disposal. So you're talking about better visuals and orchestrated soundtrack, which is pretty darn cool actually. Better animations, that kind of stuff. League, it's the world's most popular PC game, but they're kind of funded. I don't know how they're funded, but Riot Games, that's the only thing they have. So yeah.
So continuing on with the with Murky, when we talked about putting Murky in the game, we initially struggled with what to do with him. Making him really powerful didn't seem quite right. Instead, we chose to make him very, very weak, but incredibly persistent. Murky can lay an egg, which he can use to respawn near instantly upon being killed. If his egg is destroyed, Murky will face the same respawn time as his other heroes do, so be sure to hide it well. Murky is
one mechanic sounds almost... That's pretty much sounds exactly like this one character that I mained a lot back in League, Anivia. She's basically an Ice Phoenix. So, but you can't really abuse her rebirth power because once you burn up the rebirth, it goes on a cooldown. So you kind of have to be careful about it. I imagine Murky has the same concept.
Well, continuing with Murky, the Murloc, he is going to die a lot. But he's a hero who eventually overwhelms enemies across multiple battles. He doesn't need to win every fight, he just needs to win once. They also showed a sneak peek at Heroes in Development, which are Chen Stormstout, Kelthus, and Sylvanas.
Can I just say about Murky, about just winning once, that sounds like Pichu from Smash Brothers Melee. That's yes. What it sounds like. No one's going to play Murky because he sucks so much. Dude, you would play it once just for the hell of it and maybe just win just once, and that's all you really need.
I'm like Pichu. Alright, Anthony, hold on. I'm going to link this Brightwing trailer in the chat because it's hilarious. Give me your thoughts. It's 40 seconds long. Play that shit. I'll keep people entertained while you do. Yeah, I don't know. Like, a lot of this stuff seems really awesome. I'm just dying to play. I wish I was at PAX East. Oh my god. Please, Blizzard, send me an alpha, send me a beta. Anything. Give me anything. I want to play it so bad. You have no idea. Oh man, it's just oh well. I know that the reason they do this is because they gotta get the full game out and make an interesting, fun game for everyone to play, but god damn it. It feels like forever.
Well, that video was interesting.
It was funny. So they are going to be trying bundle packs for the Heroes of the Storm Alpha for like characters and for and whatnot, and see what they bring in the real game. So they did the League thing where certain characters each week are free and certain are pay. And if you own a character, you can play it no matter what. So they've unveiled the starter bundle, which has the Elite Tauren Chieftain, including both his skins, Stitches, including both his skins, Nova and one of her skins, Gazlo, Sergeant Hammer, Malfurion, and the special Rainbow Unicorn mount for $30. Considering each of those characters on their own are $6 to $10, and that Rainbow Unicorn is $20, that actually doesn't seem that bad. Especially considering, knowing me, I would probably play, I'm going to say 2 of those characters right off the bat. And regularly, and if you were to buy all those separately, it'd be $100, apparently. They have the Warcraft mount, which is Falstad, Wildhammer, Arthas, including his Lich Prince and Paladin skins, Uther, including his Lumberjack skin, where he is dressed like a lumberjack, and his tome is a log. And a Warhorse mount. The Diablo mount, which includes Witch Doctor, Diablo, including his Lurkablo skin, and Tyrael. The Starcraft bundle is Kerrigan, Tassadar, Tychus, and the Cyberwolf mount. I think these are good ideas because, so like Anthony, I know you're not particularly a fan of any Blizzard franchise too hardcore, but like, let's say you get into this game, you really like it, and you tend to prefer the Diablo characters. The fact that you get 3 of the 5 for 1/4 the cost, I think that's a pretty good idea. Hello?
Yeah, it might be.
Plus, the starter pack, to me, that's a great deal because you get a little bit of support, a little bit of damage, and a little bit of tank, and you also get a $20 mount for which.
It's also very important how good those starter characters are, because I think League has a starter pack also. Because it's like, oh, you've got a bit of support, you got a bit of tanky, you've got a bit of carry. But guess what? Nobody plays those characters ever. So it's kind of like a case where, yeah, starter pack is nice that you get characters, but they have to be characters that people are willing to use.
Well, I will say the starter pack does have the Rainbow Unicorn, which if you buy it by itself, it's $20. So even if you like one of these characters, you're getting your money back at least. But from what I have been reading and watching live streams, a lot of people liked Stitches. A lot of people like the Elite Torn Chieftain. A lot of people like Sergeant Hammer and Nova. So, a lot of people are liking 4 of those characters. Granted, right now there's only 24 characters, versus when the game comes out, there's gonna be like 50. So who knows? Man, I want to play it. It looks good. I know. I'll be honest. When this game comes out, Anthony, I'm gonna be like writing article after article, fucking just talking everything about it. I'm so excited for it. Like, there's 2 games I really want this year, and this is one of them. The other one's Bayonetta 2. So
Okay.
uh, yeah. Uh, Finally, we have, and I would love to do coverage of it. And if we're allowed to, I'd love to do coverage of the alpha. Hint, hint, hint. If Blizzard's watching this, I don't know why they would be. um, Anyway, moving forward, the last piece of Blizzard news before we go, or last 2 pieces of Blizzard news, sorry, before we go into Final Fantasy news, is Azeroth Choppers. So, what Azeroth Choppers is legendary custom motorcycle designer Paul Jr. has handpicked 2 teams of bike experts to bring to life a pair of asphalt kicking chopper designs by World of Warcraft's 2 warring factions. Joining each crew on their epic quest, members of World of Warcraft's development team to infuse the essence of the Horde and Alliance into each bike. So they got Team Alliance, which has Chris Medson, which is Blizzard's chief storyteller. And he has gone from artist to game designer to voice actor to writer. He's been creating the characters and worlds of Blizzard since the mid-90s. Then they're also going to have Taryn Justice Gregory, who is the associate project director and, quote, dedicated gnome enthusiast. And he's also the mage behind Kyle's. He's also Kyle's mage in the Warcraft, the South Park episode of Make Love, Not Warcraft. Finally, the final member of Team Alliance, is Monty Kroll, lead software engineer, who's also did some writing and voice acting for Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft. He is the voice of the Goblin saying, "Time is money, friend." He is also hardcore into 3D printing, recently printing a working 6-speed transmission. So, yeah, that's Team Alliance.
Can I just say, I really don't know what to think of this. Azeroth Choppers? Really? It makes no sense. I'm just like, video game motorcycles. What?
No, they're making real bikes.
I know, but still, video game themed motorcycles.
And also the whoever wins this show gets their mount put into World of Warcraft as a mount. So
I have a very hard time imagining.
Come on, team. I'm just saying this right now. Team Alliance. How great would it be to see the Horde have to ride a fucking blue and gold motorcycle? Let's make the dream happen.
I have a feeling not enough people are going to care, because I don't know if many people who play Warcraft actually care about choppers.
Actually, the original motorcycle mount was one of the most popular. It was really a pain in the ass to get because it was so expensive. So we'll see. Moving on to Team Horde. Team Horde is led by I like how they did this. War Chief Samwise, aka Sam Diddler, who spent his entire career in the entertainment industry. Sam's first job was in cinema as an usher at a local movie theater. Then he spent his countless hours perfecting his art on candy order forms and bathroom check sheets. It was a bold move, but Samwise left behind the spirituality job of sweeping up filthy movie theaters to join Blizzard Entertainment in 1991 as one of the company's fledgling first artists. He is also the lead singer of the Blizzard's in-house band, the artist formerly known as the Level 90 Elite Tauren Chieftain. Joining him on Team Horde are Gary Plattner. Gary Plattner is lead environment artist and former stand-up comic. He even got paid once. Who's been training in Krav Maga for about 4 years. He loves training, sparring, and getting kicked in the head by his fellow students. Jason is a senior game producer who's living the dream. He married his high school sweetheart and enjoys the finer things in life: cars, cocktails, guns, motorcycles, and food. Not in that order, and never once at all. And I'm not going to say the last line of this because fuck you. For the blank is what it says. Um, Anyway, the last little bit here is Paul Jr. Motorcycle master Paul Jr. has been molding metal into shape since age 12. He began his apprenticeship at his father's steel business. He's been widely recognized as the chief designer and fabricator of the most famous motorcycles in the world. As featured in the hit television series American Chopper on Discovery Channel, Paul Jr. started his career as a co-founder of Orange County Choppers. After branching off, he has now shared his creativity and unique approach to design with the world at his work Paul Jr. Designs. His new company pushes the limits on creativity beyond just motorcycles, where he continues to pursue his passion for building the impossible.
Sweet, thank you for the incredibly detailed paragraphs.
Courtesy of Blizzard. First off, obviously I'm biased towards Team Alliance because
I actually don't really care at this point.
I don't know. I'm gonna watch it. I think we should at least watch the first episode, like see how it is. I'm kind of curious how this is gonna work out.
To be honest, though, I imagine a motorcycle is a totally horde thing. I mean, I'm not just saying that just because goblins have motorcycles and it makes sense that way, but just like motorcycles, it's like I imagine the Alliance is more like a sports bike group of people, according to in-game personalities, if I'm correct. And the Horde definitely are Chopper, Harley Davidson kind of people.
I can see that.
Judging just from in-game personalities. Because the Alliance tries to be classy and diplomatic and stuff like that, so what kind of bike represents that? A pretty high-quality motorbike or a speed bike, like a Kawasaki.
I can see that.
And the Horde being all brash and talking about honor and their love for, blood and whatever. That totally just says they are probably the group of people who really would love a Harley Davidson.
The thing with me about the Horde is I actually was okay. I didn't love the Horde until, but I at least was okay with them when they're like, oh, we're trying to not fuck up the planet anymore and form a home here, and Thrall's all about peace, and we're also keeping our undead faction at bay. And now Thrall left, and that's all fucked up. And Vol'jin couldn't Alright, Vol'jin, the new leader of the Horde / leader of the Darkspear Trolls, it took him 5 years to recapture one island. One. A small island. How the fuck is he gonna control the Horde?
What are his credentials again? Is he he's a troll, right?
He is leader of the Darkspear Trolls.
Okay.
I'm just why not?
I thought, if I were to think through my brain, I'm let's see, the Blood Elves are still new. Goblins are way too new. Somehow it's to me, I just thought maybe a Tauren, but old man Chieftain Tauren died, so that
Bane's
sucks.
Too young. Who was Thrall?
Thrall is too busy taking care to make sure the Earth doesn't explode again.
Yeah, Thrall's too
being
busy
head
killing the
shaman
Earth.
and all.
Hey, I'm just saying, Elder Sourfang is there. The older Sourfang, one of Thrall's trusted advisors. No one wants to go with older Sourfang. Everyone wants to go with Troll, who couldn't reclaim an island after 4 years, 5 years, whatever it was. That's where we're going with this. I mean, I don't blame you for not going for the Blood Elves, because if it weren't for Jaina's little flip out and Dalaran, they probably would have gone back to the Alliance. I mean, you can't trust the goblins because they're fucking goblins. Time is money, friend. They'll fuck you over. Uh, you know, Bane's young and inexperienced, so you could have you wouldn't have another Garish on your hands, but you'd have other fuck ups.
I highly doubt Bane is like Garish.
Oh yeah,
it's just
not.
he wouldn't know what to do when he suddenly has the weight of a gazillion problems on his shoulders.
I mean,
that's the concern with Bane. And that's inexperience.
Who are you gonna put up next? Sylvanas? Oh yeah, that's a
Sylvanas is just
great idea.
Like, man, I don't know much about Sylvanas, but what is she most pissed off about?
Well, now she just wants to turn everyone undead.
Yeah, so she's just gonna be like, underground chemical factories.
Yeah,
and like Sylvanas is like, the undead seem to be with the Horde just because the Horde don't shoot them on sight.
Well, look, there's two reasons that they're with the Horde. One, it gives them more land in the northern kingdoms. Because if the undead, first off, if the Forsaken left the Horde, then the Forsaken would be fighting a war to the north with the Blood Elves. Because the Blood Elves would be, fuck this, we want our land back. And then the same thing from the humans and Worgen from the south and the west. So there's that, and then the Blood Elves would just get fucking overwhelmed. Because I'm sorry, your one little island and your little dirt patch of a home capital, what's left of it after the Scourge invasion, I'm saying that's not going to stand up to the majority of the Alliance forces, which are all on that continent.
I mean, you think about it, the Blood Elves is like, I believe the number was like maybe 80 or 90% of the population got killed.
Yeah.
When Arthas came by.
Yeah,
that's really, and then of course you got more of them out in Outland just got screwed over. So Blood Elves, I mean, in the game, Blood Elves are the most popular type of Horde character. So it doesn't really look like that, but if you read the lore, the Blood Elves got screwed over so hard. It's like we are high elves, but you know what? We're a bit too smug and a bit of an elitist jerk. So no, we don't want your help. And then the Scourge came by. Oh crap! Everyone died. Quick, we must believe in our prince. Let's go harness fell energy because our Sunwell blew up. Crap, that kind of backfired. Now their prince is dead. Yeah. How much does it suck? Actually, it sucks more to be a high elf because now you're clinging onto the Alliance and everyone distrusts you. That's even worse.
Yeah, exactly.
And because you are still clinging onto the Alliance, the Blood Elves will shoot you on sight. I don't know. It's very complicated.
God. So there's that. I mean, just man. So yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's a cool I'm pretty down with the idea. Once again, God, Team Alliance, please win. I want to see the Horde having to ride around on a blue and gold lion-headed chopper.
But most of them won't because they won't use it.
Oh, I know, but the few that actually want a chopper because they're not going to pay the 20k gold for one from an engineer, just like, yeah, you want to ride a motorcycle, you have to ride the blue and gold. Yeah, I don't know, and it could be a cool series. I'm down with seeing. I don't know about you, Anthony. I'm down with seeing how a motorcycle's built. I'd be cool with that. Seems like it'd be interesting. I don't know. Anyway, I think we're pretty much done with Blizzard news. World of Warcraft. Its subscribers have been going up the past couple months. Not huge numbers, but I think over the past couple months it's gone up something like 300,500, so 350k. Not bad. They're almost back up to mid eights. Way to be, Blizzard, I guess. I don't know why they're going back up, but yay.
I guess it has something to do with the perceived image of Draenor. Because you think about it, Cataclysm was a little too conventional, and then Mists of Pandaria was
Everyone I will say
pandas.
I agree with you on that. Everyone I've talked to who's taking a break from it but going back are like fucking, oh my god, we're going back to Outland. Fucking Outland before it was fucked.
I mean, you think about it, everyone was talking about, oh, Blizzard made things so casual. Look at their pandas. You know, something like that, right? Which you and I both know is like, that doesn't make sense at all. You're just avoiding it because you want to avoid the stigma of of dealing with panda people. But anyways, it's like you know how all those, I wouldn't say all, but there's quite a few very vocal people who always talk about, oh, Warcraft's on decline. It got too casual. They made it more casual to make money because the casuals pay their bills. You know, stuff like that, right? And it's just like, oh, I just like it back in Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King when I actually had to work for something. And the Warlords of Draenor trailer pretty much kind of said, okay, fine. You want to judge us unfairly? Fine. We're going to be super hardcore at this. We're going to go back before Outland blew up. We're going to be hardcore about this. We're going to be serious instead of pandas. I felt like somehow Warlords of Draenor was a response to, you know, it's just like everyone wanted, you know, the most vocal people wanted to go back to the old days when you had to drain your entire day just to earn something so meager, and this game just kind of looks like that, or this expansion, I should say, looks like that. Or that's what I personally think. So I think everyone's just trying to do catch up before it comes out. Personal hypothesis. I don't know if it's true.
All right. Well, good to see people coming back. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hoping yeah, I don't know. Hopefully it turns out
new
well.
character models, yeah.
Yeah, they look good, dude. You should watch. You take a look at some of those.
The only one I've really seen was the female Draenei that Quinn shoved onto his Facebook. So yeah.
Yeah, the update for sure looks ridiculously good. So anyway, going forward, Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn has now amassed a subscriber base of over 2 million because of the PS4 release.
A subscriber base.
Yes.
So that's 2 million active players. Okay.
Yes.
Because when you read this news yesterday, I wasn't really sure if it was copies sold or active subscriptions, which are two different things actually. But wow, 2 million paying players. That's very surprising because, you know, I thought it was like, well, it's a Japanese game that it's basically 80% as good as Warcraft, but with a Japanese face. So the appeal is going to be limited. I'm guessing about maybe over a million. And then I saw, you know, their website say over 1.8 million players. And I thought, oh, that's just copies sold. Like, I wasn't thinking it was going to be big, but surprising that it was as good as it is. Good job to that development team for fixing that mess and being a surprise success for Square Enix. Actually, Square Enix got a pretty mildly surprising financial report because of Final Fantasy XIV. So, yeah, good things.
All right. Well, so I think that's about it. Lots of news to get caught up on. As far as what we've been playing, standard stuff for both of us.
I can't believe you forgot to even let me talk about patch 2.2.
Oh yeah, what's in patch 2.2?
Great, patch 2.2 happened. It came out like freaking a month ago, so at this point I don't know if anybody still cares, but here we go! Patch 2.2, it's called Through the Maelstrom, I believe.
Alright.
Yes, Through the Maelstrom. Basically, the major highlight of this patch is that you get a new primal fight. Now, those who don't know what the primal fights are, they're basically boss trials. Basically, you just queue up, or you go in with a party of like 8 people, and fight a giant primal. So far, you had like Ifrit, Garuda, and Titan. Now you've got Leviathan, which in Final Fantasy, I'm pretty sure you're all familiar, is the giant sea serpent that, you know, sinks ships and does those giant whirlpools and everything. So you fight Leviathan, and there's only hard mode and extreme mode, but don't worry, hard mode isn't that hard. It actually feels a lot like normal mode, which to me was a big disappointment, because I was expecting something a lot more difficult. So you've got that. You've got more questing to say, basically unlock Leviathan. It's like the story mode basically does that. You got some more side quests such as the Hildebrand Agent of Inquiry. That's also funny. What else? Gardening. If you own a house, if your free company owns a house, you can garden now, and you can also have more furniture. And in addition to that, if you had a small house, you probably know how tiny it was, because it was basically it was really cramped. It was just basically a single room that was maybe about 2 or 3 times the size of Bronson's room, which I'm saying I have no idea how much square feet that is, but it was just like a living room.
Tiny.
A living room was the size you got for small house. Well, now they stuck a basement underneath, which doubles the square footage of a small home, which is great. Wonderful. Lots of space now, so that's also good. What else? Let me look. Oh yes, new dungeons. The old raid that was really hard, the Coil of Bahamut, turns 1 through 5. That is now a duty finder thing, and with their new patch, you can actually just queue in instead of having to make a party now. But the super hard stuff is now the extreme Leviathan fight, and the Coil of Bahamut turns 6 through 9, I think. They also introduced new gear. They're killing an old currency. Remember, Allegan Tombstones of Philosophy, the old stuff that you use to get your Darklight gear, item level 70 stuff? Yeah,
of course I do.
Sorry,
I know, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying that more for our listeners, not you, Bronson.
Of course I do, because I can actually talk about my experience in that game, because I finally played it because the beta came out on PlayStation.
Yeah, I'll get through this first. But the old currency, the Allegan Tombstones of Philstones, when you get your eye level 70 stuff, that's dead. You still have a chance you still actually have a lot of time to convert it into Miststones, which is now like the new Philstones. And all that Darklight gear is now just a bunch of dungeon drops and then new dungeons. New dungeons! You got Hard Moods of Bravefox and Halatali. I don't even know the name of it. It's something like that. Easy-ish, actually. And then you've got a brand new dungeon called the Lost City of Amdapur, which also isn't too hard. So, kind of a little easy, actually, the game has become. And they basically drop Dark-like stuff now. So, the Miststones have now become the new Philstones. And now they have introduced a new currency called Allegan Tombstones of Soldiery, which you now get your item level 100. And then there's the new improved weapons. The top weapons that you could get, the most common high-level weapons you got was your relics, they call it. And you can apply Zenith to give it like the +1 effect. Well, that's now been superseded by more they call Atma stuff now, which involves you going outside the city, farming forever to get your 12 books to shove in this guy's face so you can get your Atma weapon or something like that. Heck, I haven't even started it. It's already been a month. So there's that. I think that's all the major highlights. Yeah. Oh, yes. The old stuff. Titan hard mode, Gerudo hard mode, Ifrit hard mode. And I believe Coil turns 1 through 5 halves now. In Warcraft it was called the retard buff. In here we call it the echo buff, basically because it comes from the quote echo, which is a complicated story thing. So basically, if you survive for at least 3 minutes and then you wipe, you get like a 5 or 10% buff to your damage and health and healing power, depending on what boss it is. So that way, older people can actually have some chance of catching up to the hard people, to the, get started on the new 2.2 stuff more easily. Yeah. More stuff, more gardening.
Alright, so I finally got to play a little bit of that game. I tried both pay the periods on PS4. I'll tell you what I liked and what I didn't like. So I really liked the way it looked. It definitely, there were points where that game looks very, very pretty. Like I had a lot of wow moments where I was like, holy shit, this looks fucking amazing. and then like sometimes I was just so that was a big plus. I like the way it opens. Like it has a very strong opening. I like what else was there? I like the idea of there being kind of a story that runs through everything. By the way, everyone, I only got to level like 8, so don't expect this to be super deep. Sadly.
Yeah, that might explain a lot.
I did so. Uh, like there's a lot of stuff that I did enjoy about it. Out of my first little run in, I guess, with it. Um, that said, the character creator. I guess we'll talk about that for a little bit. I like the character creator. There's a lot of like there were a lot of stuff you can do for every character. Like so many little movements and things you can work with. I was super impressed by that. Um, so yeah, that was neat. Um, what else was there that I saw in that thing that was super cool? Um, I like that little animation when you pick your class, like or I guess not pick your class, but how do I put this? Oh well. But you pick your character, and then like you have your character has that dream where he becomes whatever you picked. So he's
That's
like
kind of
so.
cool, yeah.
In my case, he was the black mage. I thought that was kind of neat. Um, I do like how the fact that the game does encourage social play. I thought that I always thought that was a nice bonus. Um, so yeah, those were a couple of nice bonuses. Um, so yeah, those are the only things I like. Things I didn't like. Um, the fact that it shoves story down your throat like really hard, like Warcraft doesn't.
Bronson,
I
it's called Final Fantasy.
not an excuse to me. Not
Bronson, it's called
yes.
Final Fantasy.
That-
Okay.
Just,
Actually,
anyway,
that does bring up a question. Does Persona 4 do a lot of story?
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, then maybe I should complain that it takes too long with the story, even though it's
Oh,
Persona.
okay. I wouldn't say that it's Persona. I would say it's a single player JRPG. You know,
Yes,
so
but this is a Final Fantasy game, and in tradition with Final Fantasy, they tend to go overboard with story before you actually do anything.
okay. Well, compared to every other MMO I've played, which is here's a basic outline. Go. That was kind of jarring. So there was that. Uh, yeah, I don't know. So that was kind of jarring at first, and then and actually kind of irritating in a way because I actually just kind of wanted to get into the mechanics of the game. Uh, I don't like having to. I wasn't fond of having to load each zone. That was somewhat irritating. Um, like
I wasn't. I'm not really a big fan of that either because I just had this feeling that it was restricted in that way because it was made also for the PlayStation 3.
I could see that.
That's the feeling I always kept getting out of it. Just like, yeah, it's made for the PlayStation 3, and the PlayStation 3 has very limited memory, so we gotta constrict the size of these zones. That's just the feeling I get out of it.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. That really bums me out because so that was a real bummer there. And it actually hurts quest flow for me because I'm like, oh, I have to go to this whole other area, and it has to load. It doesn't take super long to load, at least in the case of in the case of the version I'm playing, but it's still long enough to be annoying. Uh, so that was a little bothersome. Um, I was playing on a console version, so I'm not going to hold this against it, but I feel they could have done a better job of explaining the controls on the controller. Once you figure it out, it's actually pretty intuitive, but until then, it's kind of obnoxious. Uh, what else was there? There a lot to talk about, obviously. It's an MMO. I did like how everybody in the area saw this. So everyone in the area is like between level 1 and level 3. And there was like this giant turtle that was like level 7, and everyone in the area grouped up on it. That was kind of cool. Um, just everyone's like, let's go whack the turtle with our sticks. That's basically what it was. Um, One thing that kind of bothered me that like I didn't have a problem with in Warcraft and to a lesser to as extent other like DCOU is like I will complete a series of quests and then it'll just be like, okay, hey, you're done. Just go find more quests. And I'm like, where? Like, I don't fucking know. Go look. Go explore the city. I'm like, what? Why? What? No, stop it.
Wait, you mean? Wait, you got to that point in the game?
Well, okay, so I did a bunch of quests for these dudes in town, and then they're like, "All right, peace, homie," and I'm like, "Wait, what?" And then they're like, "Yeah, no,
Oh
you're
yeah,
good."
that's because you probably had to walk back to an earlier zone and find the story quest that keeps on going. Because I think what you did was a bunch of side quests. Because the story quest has a special marker on it that is basically one colossal chain
Okay,
all the way
yeah,
to level 50.
okay, so that happened, I guess, and I was like, "Where do I go?" So I did find the back to the story quest eventually, but that kind of was like, what, why, why isn't this leading me to another zone or more quests? This is weird. So that was a moment of like, yeah, that was a weird moment for me, I guess. Because I've been playing DCOU and Star Wars and WoW, which all like you like to do WoW as an example. Like, okay, you start out in Elwyn, Northshire Abbey, will take you to Goldshire, which will take you to one of the outlying areas, which will lead you to Westfall, which will lead you to Duskwood, which will jump you over to uh, Arathi, which will take you over to Plaguelands, which will lead you over to Badlands, and then you will head to Outland, which Outland's kind of a clusterfuck because it still has the vanilla WoW touch to it. Uh, and then yeah, you get what I'm saying though. I
Yeah,
would
well, Final
hope.
Fantasy XIV does do that too. The only difference being that it leads you all over the place. Let me tell you, you can teleport, but the teleport bills can get very expensive.
Yeah,
Because you're warping back and forth between entire continents, the whole like I wouldn't call it continents, but major zones all the time. So it's like, oh my goodness.
well, so the fact that it didn't really give me the breadcrumb line kind of, I guess, what interrupted the flow for me, and it made it so it was kind of easier to stop at points. Um, I enjoyed playing a mage. That was cool. I kind of wish I would have got further into the game to check out group content a little more than beating a giant turtle to death with rocks and sticks. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, so there was that. Um, yeah, uh what else was there? Yeah, I what else did I enjoy? Or didn't enjoy? Like you said, like the fact that there's a main storyline is cool, but it also kind of bothers me in a way. Because of the fact that it doesn't do that trail thing. Like I think it's cool that they're trying to tell a narrative, but on the other end, I also kind of like the way that WoW does it to where, or DCOU does it where like I want to hit the cap. I don't like this zone, or even if I do like this zone, but I'm bored, I want to try something different. Let's go to over here, and I can like I enjoy that. So I don't know, man. It's like I realize it's different. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
we say it's different, but in some ways it's really not.
Um,
I always said it. It's about
also,
70-80% as good from a gameplay perspective.
also the fact that like essentially every race is just humans of different height. That kind of bothered me. Uh, because it's basically like, oh, here are the midgets, and here are the normal sized cat people, and here are the regular sized normal people, and then here are giant people. Like it's like I always
And
joke.
here are tall, slender people with slightly pointy ears.
Yes, I always joked about that with the Alliance being a lot like that, being like, oh, like we have normal human, slightly.
It's like the alliance is like we've got midgets, we've got purple skinned people, we've got super midgets that geek out really hard.
Space goats.
Space goats. Yeah, that's about as whack as it gets. Whereas you look over at the
Werewolves,
horde and it's like you've got an actual orc, you've got zombies, um,
cowman.
you got cowmen, you've got really weird talking trolls, you've got blood elves. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was definitely one for sure. But even then, like the lack of variety in races kind of bothered me a little bit, especially when you go and look at a game like DC, like especially when you go look at a game like DC Universe Online, where everyone's a human but not. Like my
Yeah,
character,
the difficulty when you're talking about different races and making them different is that they all have to be humanoid because when you're talking about one piece of gear, it has to fit across all of them.
yeah, but like
And
final, but
to do
like
something radically different would just kind of make it complicated. And I understand that with like you could do something more like Draenei where you just kind of like make their fingers or their feet very different and just change the skin tone and that kind of stuff.
I mean, like
Yeah.
like Final Fantasy has a lot of cool races. And, like I mean, they could have brought the bunny people from Final Fantasy 12. They could have brought in like there are a lot of races they could have brought in, but
Who
they just
knows? Maybe they'll fix that in a future expansion.
oh,
You
they
never
probably
know.
will.
Obviously, lots of things could change it. Like you didn't get the Draenei until like freaking Burning Crusade
No,
happened.
no, that's exactly why in Vanilla WoW it was like, oh, we got human, shorter human, midget human, night elves. Great. And then the horde was orc, skinny orc, undead, and cowman. Um,
But you put it that way, it sounds so.
sad but true.
Yeah,
Um,
cowmen. That's what the Tauren
uh,
actually are.
um, yeah. Uh, I don't know. Like, what else did I enjoy? I enjoyed the fact that there were a lot of people playing. Probably, granted, it was free, so
Yeah, well, I wouldn't like force more like what you like, what you didn't like. Like I always kind of like how you feel about Final Fantasy 14. I sometimes look at Warcraft and think the same,
I
except in different categories. It's just I guess the style just when the style of Final Fantasy clicks with people like me, but I also understand it doesn't click with everybody,
I
especially when it plays quite a lot like the big guy.
I there's some parts of it I really fucking like though. They're especially I will say that the higher level stuff, like I had to see like a higher level black mage, and I thought, oh, that looks baller as fuck.
Let me tell you, Bronson, if you're a higher level black mage and you do everything you can to do as much damage as possible, the tank
Alright.
almost has no way of holding on to aggro. Or at least the paladin. Because from personal experience tanking quite a lot, there's some black mages that don't really pay attention to their damage capabilities and end up doing so much damage that it just makes it harder for the tank. Like
I remember.
imagine this. Imagine this. I don't know if you. I'm pretty sure you have speed runs in Warcraft, but there are
Oh,
some particular
absolutely.
dungeons in speed runs where if your group is geared enough, you obviously pull like an entire mob of like 20 people. Now imagine this group of 20 enemies on the tank, and the healer's keeping up, and the bard's doing the AOE. Now imagine a black mage summoning a gigantic firebomb above this group of 20 people, 20
See,
enemies. See,
oh, like,
you just bursted so much damage in that one instance. That's like the cool moment of being a black mage. You just burst a fireball and you just hit all 20 enemies for like massive damage.
I might buy that game over the summer and give it a shot. I'm not sure which version. I'm leaning towards the PC. Um,
Oh,
but
yes. That being said though, the black mage, you're going to have to work to get all damage because a black mage, you have to switch between ice and fire mode. I guess that's the best way I could put it. Fire and ice mode. Because when you're using fire, it burns up your mana so fast, so you have to switch to ice, which recharges your mana quickly, but you do very little damage. So it's like you're on mana management the whole time. And if you screw up your rotation, oh dear. Gotta start your rotation over. Actually, if you screw up your rotation, you could have no mana, and then you're basically just a sitting duck for a whole 30 seconds. So it's a bit of work to get that kind of damage, which I actually think is probably fair, considering that they pretty much are nukes. Oh yeah, and obviously because you are a person that can summon nukes, you pretty much are the squishiest thing conceivable on the field.
Bro, I play a mage. I live that life. I understand.
Yeah, but Black Mage I think suits you because considering, I mean, I wouldn't call it a lazy job. I think if you wanted a lazy job, I think a bard is a lazier thing. But
the day I play something like a bard is the day I just stop playing MMOs.
Yeah, but you don't need to worry about. Actually, if you look at the level 50 gear for a bard as a dude, probably a bit worse. But that's just me.
Actually, something that did irritate me about that game, it has you pick a main class, and then it's like, okay, pick another class. And I'm like, wait, and I had to actually go read online which one of these was fucking Black Mage.
What do you mean? What do you mean pick two classes?
Like, it says, okay, pick your, do you want to do magic or swords or whatever? And I'm like, well, fucking magic. And then it's like, okay, here's all these weird names for shit. And I
that's a problem. That's a problem.
And I'm like, and I just want to be a black mage.
Yeah, see, that's a problem because Final Fantasy does a very good job of being unique. The problem is that your vocabulary has to be freaking good if you're gonna when you start out, because you got a thaumaturge, I think they call it, and then you have a conjurer and an arcanist. Now, when I first started this game, I had no idea what each of them did at all. And the game doesn't give you a little note that says translated to normal English, conjurer is a healer, and arcanist can be a healer or a DPS depending on where you branch out at level 30, and the thaumaturge is a heavy magic firebomb person. Like, if they just gave a little button on the bottom that says this is what makes sense, that would be. Because when I started it out, I couldn't tell if the Marauder, which is the axe thing, was a DPS or a tanking class. Okay, I just didn't know. It is actually a tanking class, by the way. So it was just confusing. They didn't give us they didn't give you a dictionary on that part. Speaking of which, Bronson, did you know that if you want to get your Black Mage class, you start as a thaumaturge, but once you hit level 30 to get your Black Mage, you actually need to do a secondary class. It's their way of encouraging you to experiment with classes. You can do any class you want. Actually, you can start any class you want after you pick one. But to encourage you to experiment with others, they have you do a different class up to level 15 before you can get your special one that's tied to your main. Like, for example, I ran a gladiator, and at level 30 you can become a paladin, but first off you need to be a conjurer up to level 15, which means you need to heal or do healer related stuff up to level 15, and then you can get your paladin, which is, I think, pretty cool because it kind of told me, it's hey, healing's pretty cool, and however, to be honest though, they need to do a better job with leveling secondary classes, because back when I did it, it was such a drag because you don't have the story to give you experience, so you have to do other things.
I like the fact that you can branch out and be more than one thing, but it also it's I kind of like how DCOU and every other MMO does it, where it's this is what this is. This is, I think they need to label it better, I guess would be the way I would say it.
At the beginning, freaking, I couldn't tell either. I'm just what does a conjurer do? What does it, freaking, sometimes their vocabulary gets so thick that you have to resort to a dictionary.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's very good if you're a person like me, because what they did was that they didn't go overboard with this, but they're very good with their thesaurus. and their similes and metaphors. Very good. It's just that sometimes the vocabulary gets thick to the point where you kind of need to have a pretty good reading level to understand what they're saying. You don't measure stuff in yards, you measure them in yalms. Yeah. Unbelievable. Whew. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, Final Fantasy XIV, it has some problems, alright? I can totally agree with that. I mean, it's not innovative, so if you're looking for gameplay innovations, you're not going to find many here.
I mean,
to be honest, this game...
It made me want... If this says anything about it, it made me want to actually give it another chance in the summer. Which
I guess is a good thing. But the thing is that this game is not innovative. You're not going to find many innovations. To be honest, A Realm Reborn was a result of them having to fix the colossal disaster that was the first Final Fantasy XIV. So they were on like full-on fix everything mode. So you know, when you're in fix everything mode, you don't exactly have time to sit down and think, so what cool new features do we want? You don't really have time to do that. Now that they finished the game, they can think about that for the future, but you know, it's a matter of preference, really. It's a matter of preference. It's a conventional MMO with the Final Fantasy face on it, which for people like me, amazing, love it. Has some cool little subtle details, like the little detail, like the big checklists. Oh yeah, it's probably a cookie cutter WoW clone, but the little details, lots of little details that you know you will love, especially if you're kind of like a person who kind of ticks more with a JRPG look. The look also takes if you're kind of like a person who's more into the art style of the old Final Fantasies, because I think after 6 they didn't really go back to that traditional look.
No, they went very steampunk.
They went like 7, 8. I don't know about 9.
9 went classic. I think you would really like 9.
Yeah, 9 went classic. 10 was Back to the Future, and 11 was an MMO that kind of did that, and 12 was don't know really. But if you're a big fan of Final Fantasy, if you're a big fan of like the art of like Final Fantasy 4 or 6, like I am, you'll freaking love some of the things they put in here. Freaking, you get a Magitech mount when you finish the story. You get like, and everyone was riding around these Magitech mounts. I'm just like, how did everyone get these? And I found out, just finish the story and you get your Magitech mount. Kind of cool, really. So lots of stuff to, you know, please those who love the Super Nintendo days of the franchise.
Right on.
But I could go into great detail, but if you really want to know all of what I think about it, and in a better method of speech than my fumbling right now, I have a 15-minute Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn review from February. So you want to know my thoughts, go ahead and watch that. So, right.
Oh yeah. I think the show will once again be back on a little more often because, like I said, I'm going to be starting again.
It will definitely. I'm pretty sure that about, I'd say about close to this holiday season, a lot will happen. Because I have a feeling that Square Enix is going to announce something big for Final Fantasy XIV. It's just this gut feeling because, actually, how much time passes between expansions?
I'm gonna put the time brackets like this. World of Warcraft came out November 2004. Burning Crusade came out January 2007. Wrath of the Lich came out November 2008. Cata came out December 2010, and Pandaria came out September 2012. So, like, 18 months to 2 years?
Okay, so I was gonna say they might announce an expansion for 14, but it's kind of a little too early.
They usually announce it a year beforehand, like 12 months out.
Okay, so considering that a game studio these days can somehow pump out a new game in 2 years, I somehow think maybe this year E3 is too soon. I would say like sometime this year or early next year. I think they're gonna say something about a new expansion for Final Fantasy XIV, and I do believe reading that they've already finished writing up the story for the first expansion, so they're pretty much working on making the content right now, which is sweet. So I'm looking forward to that actually. And there's a lot of places they could go to because it takes place on a planet called Hydaelyn. Eorzea is not a planet. Eorzea is just a continent. And if you went through patch 2.2, you meet these people that came from another continent that's just completely dominated by the Garlean Empire. Who knows? Maybe this new expansion is just you constantly punching the Empire in the face again. As if punching them the first time and blowing up their super weapon wasn't enough. They'll have you go out and save the world again. Or they could have you deal with the dragon problems in Coerthas, because Coerthas only has one zone. But it can be heavily expanded, and their story kind of leaves the door open to say, these guys got a serious problem fighting dragons every freaking 100 years. And the big black dragon's coming back. My goodness, that sounds so cliched. The big black dragon's coming by to raise fire on the ground again. God damn it. Except it's Final Fantasy, everybody.
Dragons, they're a problem.
Black dragons are a big problem. Freaking, you've got Alduin. I keep mixing up Anduin and Alduin. Alduin, screwing over Skyrim. You've got Deathwing screwing over Azeroth. Like, who's the next big dragon to blaze fire? At least in the case of Coerthas, it's a frozen snowland, so when fire happens, it's not as hot. I hope. Still terrible that a village is on fire, but yes. Oh, yes, and Dragoons get a lot of attention if that is the case for the expansion. Actually, there's something that people that come from Final Fantasy XI really wanted in 14, was that in 11, if you played as a Dragoon, you get your own little pet dragon, which sounds pretty darn awesome. So, I hope that's kind of the case too, but of course, everyone wants to play as a Dragoon, so it's like the vampire thing. Everyone wants to play as a vampire, and heck, it's even gotten to the point where I'm reading where it's like, okay, I can make you a vampire, but pay me. Yeah, but...
So, I actually did... So, I have one last piece of Warcraft news, it turns out. We missed a lot, people. It's been a month and a half.
We haven't even talked about ESO yet.
Oh, fuck. All right.
We don't have to. We talked about it unscripted.
We'll do it briefly. World of Warcraft War Crimes. It's the next book in the series that's in between Pandaria and Draenor. Garrosh Hellscream. Basically, here's the nod. Garrosh Hellscream, you've been charged with war crimes, crimes against the very essence of sentient beings of Azeroth, as well as crimes against Azeroth itself. You are charged with all acts committed in your name and those you have allied. The charges are as follows: genocide, murder, foreseeable transfer of population, and forced disappearance of individuals. And then the goes forward. That was just part of the preview off of Amazon. I read a small bit of it, the preview they had on Blizzard's page, and I really, really, really want to read this book now. Because you get to see inside the mind of Garrosh a little bit, and the scene they showed the section they showed was a conversation between Anduin and Garrosh, and his belief in the light and destiny, and it was really cool. Like, Christy Golden is a legit writer. She was the one who wrote The Shattering, by the way, Anthony.
Yeah, I did read that. That reminds me, I did read a Warcraft book that I never really got to tell anybody what I thought of it.
Yeah, what did you think? What was that dragon one called?
Okay, so the book that I got is called World of Warcraft: Dawn of the Aspects. It's written by Richard A. Knack, who also was, I believe, the same writer that wrote I nearly said Defense of the Ancients. That's not right. That series of books that related to War of the Ancients. That's it. Yeah. With the Night Elves going back in time, freaking got sent back in time, and the whacked up expansions. Yeah, same writer. And basically what the plot of this story is that one of the things that you never really knew very well in Warcraft lore was the dragon aspects. Like, Alexstrasza, Ysera, Netherion, Malagos, and Nozdormu, if I pronounced that correctly. So
Yes.
you never really knew much about them at all, or how they got their powers. You just knew that they got it when the Titans were still sort of around. Well, this book explains it. Basically, it goes back to a time when they weren't dragons; they were actually proto drakes, which primitive dragons that talk almost like cavemen. It's kind of weird, actually. um, what else is there to say about it? So basically, the plot is that Caligos, kind of in a state of shock after Deathwing got killed and they lost all their powers and stuff, was, wandering about, found this artifact, and it puts him in the mind of his predecessor and what his predecessor saw, and they go through this whole whack of adventure, and all these 5 proto-drakes somehow become buddies and work together to defeat the giant evil dragon called Galakrond, I think. In case you don't know what that is, if you ever been to Northrend and you look north of the Wormrest Tower and you see that colossal bone things, and you remember doing a quest where Alexstrasza was very concerned that if the Lich King raised that dragon, the world was doomed. That's
Pretty much.
Galakrond. That's Galakrond. So they were basically, then Galakrond started eating proto dragons all over the place. So they needed to work together. But I'm not going to go too far into the plot because I don't want to spoil too much. What I thought about it, it's okay. There's a lot of events in that story that seems too coincidental. Like, the way that Malagos meets with Alexstrasza and how they met up with Netherion, it seemed so convenient at times that I just don't know, it just seems so strange. And their personalities were kind of one-dimensional. Let me put it this way. If you are a big fan of the Cataclysm storyline, you will click with this book very well, because the Cataclysm storyline kind of suffered the same problem of things seem a little too convenient, and the characters seem one-dimensional. Same thing with this book. Now, their personalities are distinct. I'll give that much is true, but not much mood change either. Really, Netherion's always this overconfident person that loves to fight, and Yseria's constantly trying to find peace at all times until she nearly lost her life or something like that. One-dimensional. Plot development. It's slow at the beginning because you are effectively reading 2 plot lines going on at the same time. You've got Malagos and Gianna having this problem in the real world over this artifact, and then you have the story that Caligos is living through the eyes of Malagos. So you got 2 plots going on at the same time, and because you have 2 plots going on at the same time, the chapters kind of flip back and forth between these viewpoints, and building these 2 plots at the same time takes some time. It's slow, but it does build up pretty. However, once you get to like the final third of the story, it catches up pretty good, and it's kind of exciting to read the final third. What else is there to say about it? It's okay. Positive. It's not glaringly bad, and there's nothing really glaringly bad I could find about it. But there isn't really very high positives either. This is a pretty good story. It's kind of like filler. We need to know more about. We need to know more drag aspects of filler. Like, I'll probably say 7 out of
10. I actually finished Tides of War. I really enjoyed it. It's the book that led up to Pandaria. I typically enjoy all the expansion lead-ups, so this is another case of where I highly recommend you read it. I'm looking forward to War Crimes more, though. I would say it's not as good as The Shattering, though. Though I want to see more of Jaina. Jaina's always been one of my favorite characters, and I'm kind of bummed that they've turned her crazy. Also,
well, when you're the leader of a city and you see your whole city get nuked, it tends to do that to you.
Also, I know Blizzard is doing this. There's gonna be a fucking amazing throwdown between Jaina and Sylvanas, and it's gonna be fucking awesome. I don't know when that's going to happen, but it has to happen. The two batshit crazy sides of each faction, one of which has ultimate magical powers, the other one that has the power of death. Sorry, you can't beat that.
That sounds pretty cool when you put it that way.
So ESO is out. We're gonna do this pretty quick. From what I heard, it's okay. It's not great, but it isn't bad. Um, you know, I've heard I've heard a lot of people want to become werewolves. That's kind of funny. But yeah.
Um, Actually, I do believe I think there was this IGN article that said that because everyone wants to be a werewolf or a vampire, people
Oh.
are selling bites. Yeah. Wow.
I know some guy apparently offered one of their editors 35,000 gold for a bite.
Like, this kind of brings up a problem because in the case of Oblivion and Skyrim, when you were a vampire or a werewolf, it was kind of cool because it kind of felt special, right? You are secretly a vampire. The Dragonborn secretly turns into a werewolf at night and preys on innocent civilians. Like, that kind of story plot line is like, whew, that is cool. You know, not many games do you get to live being a werewolf in an open world like that. But when you're talking about an MMO, things kind of change. Like, I guess the analogy would be, for example, in Warcraft. In Warcraft lore, there aren't many Blood Elves. 90% of the High Elves got killed. And another percentage left to become Blood Elves. And then a further percentage of those Blood Elves got killed because they went crazy. So being a Blood Elf is pretty rare because there aren't many of you, and you have to work with the Horde. Thing is that when you're in Warcraft, when everyone's a Blood Elf, you don't really feel very special. Another real world example. For example, pink hats. You know, we can go out and wear pink hats and we stand out, right? You and I would wear pink hats and we'd be like the only two dudes in the entire mall wearing that kind of hat. But if everyone in the mall wore a pink hat, what's so cool about it? There isn't much cool. So same thing here. Vampires are cool in the single player games because you are like probably the only vampire who's also a werewolf who happens to save everyone's lives and can kill anything. In Elder Scrolls, you are trying to be a vampire, but so is hundreds of thousands of other people. Okay. Sure. Anyways, actually, it's getting to the point where being normal could be hipster. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So aside from that vampire thing, what else has been said about it? Oh, buggy. Yes. Yeah, totally normal. For an Elder Scrolls game, totally normal.
Yeah, we kind of expected this.
I mean, it's like people were like, you come out like that. I remember like when Skyrim came out, it's like it's buggy, and I'm just like, Oblivion was buggy, and so was Morrowind. Like Bethesda can't even fix their own game; they just leave it to the community to fix it for them. And guess what?
Which, in my opinion, is
the community did.
Fucking lazy, but sure.
Actually, I remember this one time, the unofficial Elder Scrolls Oblivion patch for the PC. I believe the document said 5,000 bugs fixed and 20,000 object placement errors.
Jesus.
5,000 bugs. Like, all Bethesda did was they fixed like the really bad ones, like getting permanently stuck in a quest story. That had to be fixed. But other than that, they just kind of leave it to the community to fix games for them. Which, in my opinion, is kind of dumb. Because you're saying that your team of paid professionals is getting beaten by a bunch of amateurs in front of their desktops who do this for free. Which, by the way, Jim Sterling did talk about that, believe it or not.
Yep.
About games being released broken. Actually, to be honest, in the case of Skyrim, it was somewhat worse when you're talking about the PS3 version. And I have the PS3 version, and I think that it's ridiculous that Oblivion worked better on the PlayStation 3 than it did on the Xbox 360. Yes, they had a year, but it was better. Whereas in the case of Skyrim, it took them a year to bring the PS3 version up to about the same level as the 360, and then proceed to just give up after Then they're just like, okay, guys, peace. We gotta work on our next project now. We're just gonna let the community make the PC version more awesome. Yeah. And that to me kind of raised some alarm bells. So, yeah. So, anyways, back to Elder Scrolls Online. I played a beta of it a few months ago. Mind you, this was still a pretty early beta when they were like closing it off and said, you couldn't disclose any of this, back then. And it played like a clumsier, sloppier Skyrim. In fact, I actually stopped playing the game and played Skyrim and went back and I think I nearly played Skyrim again. That, or I put the disc in and played it for only 3 minutes before I realized, oh god, that water doesn't look good. Okay, I'll stop now. Beep. Questing, well, couldn't say much about questing. It was a beta. Combat, third person Elder Scrolls, but kind of clunky. Yeah, you can switch to first person, but I don't know what to even think about how making people work. How the game looked. Brown paste, or it just kind of feels a little monochromatic. Kind of reminded me of Dragon Age 1 in a bad way. And the voice acting. Whew. Like, some of the characters, they're actually voice acted. Especially at the beginning, obviously. They need to voice act to give a good first impression. But then came the stuff that they didn't voice act and then they had a computer do the voicing instead. Hello, I am having trouble today. I need some help here helping these sailors who have suffered from injuries and there are some mud crabs. Can you help out? Wow. Talking about Uncanny Valley weird. Yeah, the island I was on didn't feel too varied. I just didn't feel like I got a very good impression. Now, to be honest, that demo, I'm sure the final game is quite a ways better. Because to be honest, me and this other guy, we kind of figured this is a demo. Sorry, this is a beta build to test server loads. It wasn't really meant to give the wow factor of the final product. So yeah, that's kind of why I don't really trust that opinion too much anymore, but that's what I thought, and that's kind of like, you know what, this MMO doesn't really click with me. I don't feel like playing a clumsier, clunkier Skyrim with people.
So, I think this comic hit the nail on the head. So, this review is killing me. Do you think ESO delivers an authentic Elder Scrolls experience? Well, the writing is terrible, and the combat is pointless, floaty bullshit. And the game's most dangerous enemy is the yawning void beneath the earth that consumes players without warning. Oh, except for the mud crabs. So yeah, pretty much. And then instead, except for the mud crabs area, it shows these giant mud crabs just murdering everyone. Yeah, I don't know, man. ESO, we kind of called that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, like, I thought this was going to become the next Warcraft. I really did think that at one point last year. Because I looked at it and I'm just like, oh man, freaking, when this game was announced, everyone was still in the high of Skyrim. Elder Scrolls, new King franchise of gaming, or at least that's how people are talking about it. Skyrim is so amazing. Skyrim is so great. Skyrim gives you unlimited freedom, and now you can do it with other people. Because that's what people talked about. Imagine Skyrim with more people. Doing it cooperatively. That sounds pretty darn cool, actually, even for me. And I thought ESO was going to do that, and they had a different development team, which dampened it a bit. And I'm just like, hey, you know what? Maybe it's not going to be as good. But at the same time, I was like, it could be the next Warcraft. That's just 1% of my brain. And then they started showing some things that made me start to doubt that. They showed the most generic cinematic trailer I've ever seen. Generic elven woman assassin, generically stabbing a man, then generically walks towards the camera with a generic angry look. Generic wall climbing with generic buildings and a generic look. It was like a mishmash between Skyrim, Dragon Age, Warcraft, and those 3 games in a way.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, that's I guess that's that for this
I'm
episode.
tired. I'm tired.
Um, lots of lots of good stuff going on in both our MMOs and Blizzard in particular. Heroes of the Storm. I am gonna try to get us alpha keys or beta keys when it hits beta, so we can talk about it because it looks really good, and we've talked about it so much, especially me, that I want to get us in and playing it. So who knows? So it's because we have no idea when it's gonna be out, and knowing Blizzard, it's gonna be out for like 2 years.
I wouldn't say
Oh,
2 years. I'd say a year.
Blizzard takes fucking
Because
forever to do anything that's not a Warcraft expansion. Like fuck.
if they're handing out alpha keys already, I'm pretty sure they're closer to the finish than we think.
Yeah, but they only have 24 heroes in the game, and by the end of spring, it'll probably be up to 30 or 35. So who knows? I don't know. It looks legit. Um, yeah. So I don't know. All right. Here's my question for you, Anthony. In Heroes of the Storm, out of the heroes that I've talked about and that have been announced, who are you gonna try out first?
Ooh, that's a very good question. Hmm. Probably Kel'Thas. Maybe.
Belfast? All
Yeah,
right.
maybe. Maybe.
I
I just thought it's like, gee. At first, my first thought was, what did I play in League? What did I prefer to play? I usually play as a support type of person, or as a magic person going down the middle lane. So I thought to myself, so I don't know anybody who's support or whatever the Heroes of the Storm equivalent is. But magic, well, the only magic character I know so far is Kel'Thas. So hey, maybe I'll try that.
um.
So you're definitely gonna go Arthas, right?
Surprisingly, no. I'm gonna go.
Actually Arthas is too plain and too conventional. You would go for something really dumb.
I'm gonna go for. All right. So I got a couple of options here lined up. I've thought about Murky, but that's a little too stupid. So
That's the shits and giggles character.
I've thought about Murky, but I kind of went with that. And after that trailer, I'm thinking about Brightwing. I'm really thinking about Brightwing. But the ones I got in my mind for the first tryout are uh, the elite Tauren chieftain, Rock God, um, or Stitches, the Terror of Darkshire. Those are the two I have off the top of my head. You know, so especially because Stitches, you can put him in a chef outfit, and that makes me laugh. Oh, I've also thought about Uther in his lumberjack outfit. And then I can sing, I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. I sleep all night and I work all day. He's a lumberjack and he's okay. Sleeps all night and he works all day.
Did they actually
What?
sing that in Warcraft?
No, that's from Monty Python. But God, it would be.
Great.
But still, how great would that be? The other team's just like, hey, faggot. And I'm like, I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. Sleep all night. I work all day. Oh my God, it'd be great. Oh my God, Anthony, this is a free to play game, so I'm probably going to spend a fortune on this game, I've realized. Like,
Must
serious.
unlock everything.
Like, I don't give a shit about some characters, like the Barbarian from Diablo, like, don't really give a crap. Like, Arthas's alternate skins, maybe, but like, you're telling me I could have Uther dressed like a lumberjack? You're telling me I could have the elite Tauren chieftain dressed like a blues brother? Like, yes, yes, and yes. Oh, Diablo riding a rainbow unicorn? Oh my God. Just
Um, wow.
so unbelievably excited. Um, and I like the fact that there are multiple battlegrounds, not just one battlefield. And they
One
changed.
competition field.
Yeah, now there are four, and they all have different stuff that, like, if you give it, like, on the, for instance, like Blackheart Bay, if you pay the pirates enough, they start bombing the other team's base. You know, like Dragon Shrine, if you summon the Dragon King, stuff like that. Oh my god. That Brightwing trail, I gotta say, that's the first time I've ever wanted to play a support character in my life. um, oh my god. So, all right. So, anyway, I think that's it for us. Anyway, yeah. Anything else you want to talk about, Anthony?
Nope.
I can't wait till we're doing this show in like the end of the year, and you're playing Warlords of Draenor with us. I'm committed to that. I'm talking to Quinn to see if I can get Quinn.
It's like the moment I decided to not care about Warcraft, you were thinking about paying for a copy for me. But then when I decided that I was going to abandon Warcraft completely for Final Fantasy XIV, you were most adamant that you were going to try and get me back in there.
Yep. I'm paying. Yep, paying for that copy.
Yeah, like you were thinking about it because it was like the only MMO I've played. But now it has become adamant because I have left completely.
Exactly. Let's see.
Honestly, if this was a how should I put this, substance abuse conversation, that would have been kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, Anthony, don't do that drug. We've got a better drug, and I'm buying it for you. Okay, that just sounded wrong. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, that'll be it. This has been Bronson, your level 90 protection warrior. Gonna be grinding for that legendary cape soon.